Live.
All right. Hope everybody's doing good. Welcome to Apex Inner Game, episode 9, where we're gonna talk about dating single moms. All right, that'll be the conversation we have today. As you guys know, on my channel here, we have higher level discussions about mindset, relationship, sex, and dating related topics. And so today we're going to tackle the single mom issues. So it's popular to just crap all over single moms. That's the popular thing. At first it was in there, for who know, I don't know the dates on these, but the narrative was being pushed through that, guys need to wife up those single moms and be good husbands and partners to these women who have children, that they are taken care of by themselves, and to be a hero. And every guy with an attachment issue and problem and savior complex jumped on that narrative and would wife up these single moms. And then they would find themselves, a lot of them, not all of them, would find themselves in these terrible circumstances where they're being capitalized and used for resources, and dealing with a kid that they have all the responsibility for, but none of the authority with. Anytime there's, it comes to actually saying no or executing any kind of discipline or standards in the household, the guy would be told that's not your kid, and all this. But he's responsible for providing, paying for, and taking care of, and driving around, and taking shopping, and doing all of those things, right, for that kid. So that's what was happening for a while. And then you had some alternative narratives that came out, and now what you have is the other side that I usually see on the internet, although you see both sides of it. But the other side is that dating single moms and wifing up single moms is just this terrible, horrible thing, and you're a simp and you're a cuck if you do it, and it's just all this stuff. Like, nobody is objective ever anymore. It's all this binary extremism stuff. So we're going to cut through all that bull stuff, and we're going to actually talk about the real issues, problems, concerns, because the reality is, and what makes me laugh about this topic, is that y'all screw around with these single moms anyway. Y'all date, mate, hook up, and relationship up these women anyway. The internet talks crap about it. The internet talks crap about these things, and you guys, watch the videos, read the comments. Some of you comment yourself, and then you quietly, secretly go, respond to that text, or have that Netflix and chill session when the babysitter's there, the kid's asleep, and she's a single mom, and you're over there, right? You're hooking it up. And so that's the funny part, is it's not stopping you guys from wanting sexual access to women that have kids. It may be stopping you from dangerously wifing up or committing to the wrong person for some of you, but for a lot of you, it isn't doing a whole thing. So instead of just capping, let's actually have a real talk or conversation about it. All right. So that's what we're going to cover today, because there are real reasons why you need to be concerned, and you need to consider certain things that you haven't thought of, that I'm going to talk about today. It's beyond the internet memes and the bull stuff. There's things you haven't thought of that are real issues and real reasons as to why you maybe shouldn't, in a lot of cases, go too far with that single mommy. Okay. But there are, situations where maybe it works for you, and maybe it's an advantage. And that's the other side of it. Now, those are going to be singular circumstantial things. But they do exist. And I've had clients who, were working on their frame and working on their relationships, and found themselves in it with a single mom. And I gave them advice on how to hold frame, and because they wanted to stay in those relationships, they understood the risks. that were involved, and I help them vet those situations out and have frame in those relationships, and they're happy. They're happier than a lot of you dum-dums in the comment sections and Twitter feeds who want to talk about, oh, I don't want to take care of another man's kid, blah, blah, blah. This guy doesn't care. These guys that I've coached on the issue, they're with a hot chick that they're really happy with, and they like the kid, and they're having a good life, and they're not being used and all this crap. It's not about that because they have frame in their relationship. So there are circumstances where it's going to be fine. But you have to know or recognize what situation, what circumstance this might work, right? And when it's not going to work. You need to know both of those things. And this objective discussion doesn't exist in most places on the internet when it comes to this topic. So, and there are real people behind this, like a single mom as a human being, not just an internet meme. And so, just treating this human being like she's this, terribly cursed object probably isn't doing anybody any justice. But it's not doing, of course, anybody any justice either to pedestalize this person and make her into like this, this glorified object that like guys want to put girls on that pedestal, right? That's not very useful either. So we're going to look at all of these things. But to begin with, I am going to start off with a comment from my YouTube. Sometimes I get comments, sometimes I get emails and asking for advice. If you're asking for free advice, the problem with free advice is that nobody follows it. Okay, there's no accountability there. And so I usually just don't do it unless I think it's going to benefit an entire group to talk about it. So if you're asking me questions via comment section, or if you're doing it in the chat, throwing a super chat on there will help get your question noticed. If there's no skin in the game there for you to get that question answered, even if I give you the best advice in the world, it's hit or miss whether you're going to follow it. But I answer those questions on the air because it benefits other people. Okay. So the individual question asker who's, asking for free advice from a guy on the internet, may or may not follow or do well with the advice I'm giving. But I know that if I judge that there are other people who would benefit, that's when I do share them. And so if I don't share your question, comment, concern, I get a lot of them. If it gets ignored because, you have no real skin in the game, you're just sort of asking me to solve your problem for you without booking a session or without, trying to get into one of my programs. You're probably going to get ignored, but there's the occasion. Still ask it though. I'm not saying don't ask it, because there's the occasion where somebody does write something or whatever, and I say, okay, I can address that. And then of course, a lot of these guys will do a paid, video, or they'll do a sponsored video. So anyway, those are options. But I'm going to read this comment, and it's not really. It's kind of related to. It's a little off of today's topic, but it's still good. All right, it's a little break from it. So this guy asks, he says, I need help. And you're going to find out he does. 27, male. All right. Left 10-year LTR 2 years ago. Already, first sentence, let's break that one down. He left a 10-year LTR 2 years ago. He is 27 years old. All right. And then, of course, the next thing has been dating someone new 1.5 years. All right. So we have somebody who was in a relationship with another person from age 15. Okay. As a kid. This guy is a kid, and she, I assume, is a kid too. Unless it was his teacher. It was one of those situations. I imagine you'd tell me that. So he's probably around the same age, right? So they're kids, teenagers. and he's with this person for 10 years. So you know nothing really much about women and the experiences of women. And I don't mean to say this in a disparaging way. I'm saying it because it's true that you just don't have a lot of experiences. So from an experience perspective, you don't have a lot of knowledge about women in general. So this is already a problem. All right, because you jumped from a 10-year relationship to a 1.5-year relationship. Look, guys, the reason for dating isn't just to try to get your notch count up and get laid a bunch. A lot of the women you're going to interact with, maybe take out or whatever, or be in groups with, friends with, contact with, whatever it may be. The reason for those experiences is so you get direct experience and knowledge for how women communicate, how women are. It's important for a man, even more so than a woman, to have that understanding. And I say that women will think that's sexist. It's not. It's just because your job as a man is to have the frame of the relationship. Generally speaking, you lead your relationships. So you have to have this knowledge and understanding of the nature of the person that you're leading, on a biological, emotional level. And it's hard to just get that from one person. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's difficult, especially considering the level of attachment you're going to have to that one person. So if you're talking somebody you've been with since you were a kid, you're going to have a high level of attachment, and it's going to ruin your objective reasoning, an objective way of approaching a problem. So you need to not be in a committed situation, like in that sense where you're sharing, especially one where you're sharing resources or children or houses. Look, this is not the 1950s. This is not the 1930s. This is not tribal times 200,000 years ago. All right. You're probably going to live to be past the age of 80. Your instinctual mating drives are not designed for you to be with the same person for that length of time. That doesn't mean you shouldn't strive for that, and that doesn't mean you can't have it. But understand, if you go based on what your instincts are telling you, and this is the same with women as too, you're not going to have long-lasting relationships. What you're going to have is serial monogamy, where you bounce from relationship to relationship every 1 to 2 years, experiencing the loss and trauma each time there's that breakup. And most people, what they do is they experience loss and trauma. They never get better at breakups or the loss and handling it, and they only carry trauma and baggage with them into the next relationships. So most people are not learning anything. They're not getting any better. They're just getting worse as they go from committed situation to committed situation. And the committed situations they're getting into are not objectively good choices for them. They're just available choices. Right. So the girl that starts touching your pee-pee and that likes you and throws the commitment your way, or perhaps you're pushing it her way so she doesn't, touch another guy's pee-pee, that ends up being your relationship and who you're with. That's not a very high standard for who you're going to give your commitment away to. And so it only leads you to the probability of having problems, unless of course you're just really lucky and it's just the winning the lottery. But I don't like to plan my life based on winning the lottery. All right. You have the types of relationships you can have with women are directly related to your game and your skills, as well as, your opportunities and your sexual market value and who you select. Okay, from those opportunities, that's part of it. And so if you have a scarcity mindset and you're selecting the first girl that touches your pee-pee that you like a little bit, and now you're in a relationship and you do that every year to 2 years, you're not learning a whole lot usually. All right. It does you well to interact with a lot of women and be single. To even if you are sexually active with one or a handful of these women, it's not about racking up the notches, but it's just about having the experiences, and having an experience with a girl and then dropping her off and letting her do her thing. What happens is you're able to experience women from not a perspective of being heavily attached and reliant, okay, on her for your sense of self-worth and your sense of identity and all of those things that get guys in trouble. And so when you can get some practice at doing that, then when you get into a relationship that's worth your commitment, you're selective about it, you're selecting the right chick, and you bring to the table an ability to walk away from a situation that would be bad for you, which is important. It's important that you have that so that you hold your frame and you hold your standards. Otherwise, you just won't have any standards. And so let's read on. I've only gotten into 2 sentences here. So already you're off to a bad start. That's my point. Okay. It's great that you had a long lasting relationship since you were a kid, but once that ended, you needed to be dating, and you needed to do that for a while, especially as a 25-year-old man. All right. So not being in a relationship at this point, most of your adult life. So he goes on to say, most loving person I've met takes good care of me, great sex, etc. The cons are she has a severe drug problem and prostitution is how she pays for it. All right. I'll read on. More like 4 long-term sugar daddies and some others. Sounds crazy, but I can't leave. We spend every second of the day together. Well, obviously you don't if she's doing drugs and seeing sugar daddies. So, okay, already you can see that there is a lack of awareness and disconnect due to his name's in the comments, so I'm going to use his first name as Matt. Due to Matt's attachment issues. I don't know what those are in depth because we're not in a session together, but I can already see them permeating through the mental gymnastics he has to play in order to justify why he's making bad choices. And all it is feelings, right? This guy has oxytocin for this prostitute. Okay. And that's it. And he feels good. She knows, and she's trained. She's been training, not that she went to college for it, but the school of sinking arrangements, right? She is trained and she knows how to make a guy feel good, how to play the role and the act in order to have that power over the guys that she's dealing with. That's, power dynamic is one thing you begin to understand, whether you're explaining it as well as as I might explain it or not. You begin to understand that what women do to have power in a relationship and making you feel good and making you feel taken care of so that she gets whatever it is she's getting in return. That's part of that exchange. And that making you feel good on the one hand doesn't negate, let's say, prostitution and a drug problem. Obviously, you're not feeling good all the time because she said severe drug problems. So she's either high around you and you're enabling her, or she's not around you. So like when he says, oh, we spend every second of the day together, well, that's a lie now. You see how you're lying? This guy, man, is lying to himself. All right. And this is what happens when you have an attachment problem. When someone says, I can't leave somebody, I immediately know they have an attachment problem. That is not a healthy attachment. All right. Not wanting to leave. Yeah, that's health. That would be healthy, saying, I don't want to leave this person, but knowing that you would leave if the situation was bad for you, that's a healthy attachment. And everyone should have healthy attachments, men and women, right? I wouldn't want a woman to stick with me because she feels like she can't leave. I don't want that chick, by the way. It works both ways. I don't want a girl that sticks with me because she can't go anywhere else. That's not the girl I want. That's not the girl who's going to be grateful to be with me and who's going to appreciate what I do and who I am as a man. All right. That's a girl with scarcity who's going to resent me because she can't do any better. Not a good framework. Okay. So you want someone that wants to be with you, and you want to be in a situation where you want to be with somebody else, not where you feel like you need to be with somebody else. That is the problem. You have deep attachment problems. Okay. And I'm going to be doing, and I'll post a link here when it drops on March 30th. I'm going to be doing an inner game healing summit with John Modern Life Dating and some other people. And this is the exact type situation. This is a very extreme situation, but somebody with an attachment issues needs to be in that summit. Okay. Because that's going to change your way of, this isn't a girl problem. This is a you problem. Okay. How you attach. And so it's not a relationship problem. This is your attachment problem. Okay. Because and also the way that you frame things for yourself. I mean, you should be with someone who is loving and takes care of you because you're worth it. And you do the same for her, right? So you should have that person who isn't banging other dudes or doing it, for drug money, right? I mean, don't you think that's basic in terms of what you would deserve as a human being? And if you're not deserving of that, meaning your sexual market value is not high enough to have a woman who would want to be with you and treat you in a loving way without prostituting herself for drug money, what do you need to fix in yourself then to change that? You shouldn't be with anybody. At that point, anybody in a serious relationship, casual dating is okay, but you need to be focused on you now. And you need to, your value needs to be to a point where at the very least you deserve a part of your commitment would mean that you have a partner that treats you in the right way and isn't banging other dudes for drug money, right? I mean, that's pretty basic. And the fact that you think you can't leave that situation because she's nice to you, do you see the problem? Do you see how that's an attachment problem? And I know there's guys listening to me right now who do, guys, some of you guys are going to be like, oh, man, this guy's idiot, right? But you're doing the same thing, or you've done the same thing. You've been there, and you're still susceptible to going right back there because you haven't really overcome the attachment issues that you've had, and not in the way that you think you have. So he goes on. I'm losing my friends and family, it feels like. Yeah, because you're chasing this person around and dealing with her problems instead of working on your own. Here's interesting. She's constantly worried I'm going to cheat on her and even accuse me of messing with my younger cousin when we smoked a weed pen in private after a family funeral. Yeah. So here's an interesting thing about women with excessive irrational jealousy. Women with excessive irrational jealousy tend to cheat on their boyfriends. Okay, because their mental framework, it's called projection. Their mental framework is that I'm going to be cheated on and that everybody cheats. And therefore, this guy is going to cheat on me. Because she's cheats, right? If she's not outright having sex with people, she's doing cheating behaviors. Her past experiences, her past behaviors is to do cheating behaviors. When she doesn't feel secure in a relationship, she reaches out to other guys and has inappropriate relationships with other men. I mean, you just said she's prostituting herself for drug money. I would say that's inappropriate relationships with other men. You should be not in a relationship with anybody that does this. Casual sex partner, if you want to have that, I wouldn't have that with somebody who has 4 other sugar daddies. Personally, that's a little too much for a casual sex partner for me. I mean, I could see as a single man accidentally, maybe getting in a one night stand situation or whatever, but I'm not like gonna rinse and repeat that for months and months. But even as such, you should be dating other women. You should not be in a commitment with this person. Her dread, well, yeah, it's because she's banging other dudes, right? And so yeah. So of course she has dread. She assumes you're going to bang other women, and you should be. You should be banging other women. That's the thing. And you should be like, well, you have a drug problem and you bang other guys, or you use their money and you have inappropriate relationships with other men. So what I do with other women is none of your fucking business. All right, that should be your framework, and she's not gonna like that, and that's why you shouldn't even be that. It's just a stupid. The whole fact that you're in this is stupid to begin with. And how and smoking a weed pen, all this shit, dude. You are in a world of bullshit. All right, by the sounds of it. All right, and I'm not a big I'm not even for criminalizing drugs, but some of you guys, some of you people that listen to this are you're in a loser mindset, a loser mental framework, and you surround yourself with losers. You surround yourselves with people that get drunk every Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Tuesdays and Sundays and Mondays, and people who get high all the time, and people, just people who are just medicating themselves so they can, escape their problems with drugs and alcohol, and they're toxic losers, man, and they work average ass jobs in and out of when they do work, and it's just a garbage existence of people basically parasiting, and not really accomplishing anything. I mean, these are also the first people who will get outraged about something politically because they have no control in their own lives. So they're the super woke and the super liberal, right? Or even super conservatives in some of the weird conservative groups, you know what I mean? That are, you know, like extra toxic and all that, and they're just getting high, getting drunk, and doing bullshit and having toxic relationships, not accomplishing anything. Let me just tell you guys who are listening to me, if that's your world, you need to get out of that world. All right. And you need to start finding your purpose in life, and you need to distance yourself from people who get in the way with that. And that's all these kinds of people. You tell me you're smoking your weed vape pen at a funeral with your cousin. I'm not so much like anti weed. I don't smoke weed, but I'm not so much anti it. But there are very, 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 very few highly successful people who smoke like all the time. It's the reality of it. It's the truth. And I want to hear your bullshit. Go ahead and put bullshit in the comments in the chat if you disagree with that. But that just tells me the world you're in. Most people who surround themselves, it's the same with the alcohol. Yeah, you have functioning alcoholics, sure, that, you know what I mean, that reach success. But dude, those are marginal, those are on the margins. Most people who are just drinking all the time are losers, man. You know what I mean? And so, you're showing up like a loser, and you got this loser chick, and that's your problem right now, dude. You got a lot of work to do, my friend. All right, and that's it. This is a wake up call to you and to anybody else in your situation. You got attachment issues, and you got massive issues, and you're putting yourself in an environment that fuels that stuff. The people you are probably hanging out with and the people that you are surrounding yourself with are probably shitty human beings, okay, that have you into a shitty existence. And dude, I get it, because I've had those people in my life too. You got to get out of that. Okay, you really do, or you're not going to do well. So, but a hyper paranoid woman like that, when it's irrational, I mean, high dread is one thing, and sometimes there's attachment issues and stuff, but oftentimes when somebody has high dread, it's not just dread. It's like this irrational, you must be cheating on me. Oh, you're on your phone. You must be texting a girl. Oh, you must be in a girl's DMs. Oh, that's because she does it. Okay, that's projection. And so that's why she acts that way, because she does those things. Guaranteed. I mean, I can almost fucking guarantee it. All right. So I think I know what I need to do, but I'm scared to. Yeah. Okay. That's, you know what? I have a lot of respect for you saying that because most people won't admit, men won't admit to having fears, but we know that you have them. And it's not what makes you alpha isn't not having fears. It's when you do have a fear, it's how you handle it. And yeah, it's going to be scary because not only do you need to break up with her, and you're going to go through the pain of that, it'll be painful because you have an attachment problem, but you need to probably do a total revamp of your entire life. And the unknown of that can be, yeah, it can be scary, right? It can be. But trust me when I say this, it's rewarding. And I recommend, I'm gonna guess you're probably not a good candidate for you're probably not a good candidate for my mastermind program. Okay, you're not ready for that. But the inner game summit, though, that's a lower cost to entry and it'll get you started on some inner game stuff. Link in the description. Get my my alpha mindset course in self learn and self study and get your inner game right, get your goals on order, get your identity in order, and that'll start to change how you show up with women and the types of women and the types of people you allow into your life because you'll start getting better. All right. So that's my like a recommendation here. Get my alpha mindset course. It's not super expensive, and it's a digestible thing. And then the March 30th, I'll put announcements on my platforms as well. You can sign up for the Inner Game Summit, maybe get a start on that too. Those are some good things for you. My year-long mastermind is not for you yet. Okay. I don't think it's for you yet, but those will be a good pathway because man, you're in a shithole right now. You're in hell. You need to pull yourself out of hell. And being scared is okay. In fact, that's good. That means you're about to do something uncomfortable. Change doesn't happen with comfort. Change happens with discomfort. So having a little bit of fear is a good thing. Okay. She has an 11-year-old son. See, that's right. I remember why I was reading that. Single mom. We got ourselves a single mom here, ladies and gentlemen. She's 11-year-old son. Oh, and there it is. Okay. We have the 11-year-old son. So this chick is probably older than you, I'm going to guess, because I doubt, unless she had a kid when she was 14. Is that what we're dealing with right now? I don't know. Okay. Well, 27. So maybe not 14. What, 17, 16. So 16. If she's the same age as you, right? If she's younger than you, did she have this kid? What age? Or did she have this kid? Or is she an older woman? I don't know. Probably not that much older if she's got 4 sugar daddies. She's got a bunch of sugar daddies. She's probably attractive, at least in a gross, prostitute sort of way. But anyway, she has an 11-year-old son, and we are living in a camper after losing the house she was renting. 2 trailer park girls go around the outside. Okay. So I had to, bro. Come on. I had to. We have to laugh a little bit. Okay. Little Eminem song going on here. It's like one of his songs. I quit my job when I found out about her profession about 6 months into the relationship because I was so worried about what was going on and who, eccentric, and I also want to spend every second around her. Dude, you don't have what's called a mental point of origin. You don't have frame. Okay. You're quitting your job. You don't have a sense of purpose. Your sense of purpose has been developed around following around some girl to try to not lose the attachment. That is, you are at danger right now. You're in a danger zone. A danger zone is self-selection, my friend. Because these girls, dude, are going to not, they're not going to stick with you with that framework. None of them will. All right. Unless they're highly dysfunctional. You know what I mean? Like this one is highly dysfunctional and it's lasted a year and a half, but they're either going to be so dysfunctional or your framework and your value is just not going to be there, dude. You need to find your value independent of a woman. Otherwise, that literally, if your value is not independent of some chick's opinion, I don't care if it's your wife that you're happy with, okay? you are at risk, whether you know it or not, of self-selecting, period. Hey, I'm a military guy. I've given the, the self-selection. I can't say the S word on YouTube apparently, or they like, I don't know, kill you. I'm not sure what happens. They forced me to off myself. I don't know, but it's supposedly not good. So I'm not going to say the word, but I mean, I've given the briefs. I give the best brief for that. Glenn, you chime in.
Tell you what happens. They delete you. They delete you.
They delete you. They could delete. Yeah, well, Glenn got deleted. But Glenn, you piss people off every day though. So I mean, somebody just decided to complain on you. Not that it's your fault though. The censorship is ridiculous.
The censorship's retarded, but I'm here to make your life a little bit less uneasy.
Yeah. That's good. Well, I'm glad you're here anyway. Yeah. I've given the briefs to groups of men, some women were there too because it's the military, but I mean mostly men because those units I served in, right? I've talked to guys off the ledge. I've talked a pistol out of somebody's hand on the phone when it was to their head. That was 2019. Okay. They have a very intimate knowledge on this issue. Like you guys don't know about. You're not aware of it because I don't use it for clout and I'm not doing that now. Okay. I'm telling you, all right. I'm telling you, not having a sense of value or a sense of purpose as a man, as a male, outside of your woman or your family makes you a direct risk of going down that road. Because as soon as it's compromised, even the smallest fight or bit of discomfort with your girl or your relationship or whatever, it puts you in a state of deep fear and anxiety of losing your life because your whole life is your wife or your girlfriend or her baby if you're with her and she's got someone else's kid, right? Your whole life is following some woman around because you're not leading, you're following and trying to take care and enable. And it's a codependency, and codependencies are addicting. All right. They have support groups for people who are codependent on drug addicted people, but it doesn't have to just be that way. Okay. Codependency is an addiction, my friend. And all you guys listening. And I won't get into the science of that too hard because we got, another topic to cover, but there's scientific reasons and neurochemical reasons why that is an addiction. All right. And so that is what you need. You need to work deeply on that. If you're quitting a job, bro, over that, and you've been unemployed and living off of what? Her OnlyFans and her sugar daddies is what are you guys living off of, right? It can't be in a camper. All right. It is an Eminem song. You are an Eminem song right now, bro. You have to, except you probably can't freestyle. So you have to figure out something and a way out of it. You know what I'm saying? And you can do it. There's nothing, you can be a success story. I have a lot of success stories from dudes who you would think never would be a success story. In some ways, I'm one of them. All right. I never was in a camper with a single mommy, but I've done I've done a lot of stupid things in my day though, for sure, that I should be dead right now, but I'm not. And so you can get out of it, but you gotta really get some help. And I don't know, man, that's, like I said, it's the inner game. Inner game is your thing right now. It's not your girl. It's not girl problems. It's your attachment problems. It's what's going on with you psychologically, mentally. Okay. It's your codependency. You're going to need a complex plan. I mean, when I say take my alpha mindset course, that's a start. That's not like take it and you're cured. I know if I was better at marketing, okay, I would shill my course, all right, and tell you it's the solution to all your problems and overpromise and do all the bullshit everybody does, and it gets people to buy their shit. I won't do that to anybody, okay? But the reality is it's a great course and it's a good start. Okay. But within that framework and that start, you're going to have to do a lot of other things. Maybe a support group. I don't know. Maybe some regular counseling, because I'm way too expensive to hire as a regular counselor, like we're talking once or twice a week kind of a thing. But you might not have where you're going to get the healthcare to afford such a thing. It's not even an option for you, possibly. I don't know. Okay. So this is why I'm starting you off with maybe a small course, or maybe the group, or my videos here are free. You can just start binge watching my videos. Not all of them are going to apply to your situation, but the ones that do, take out a journal, start writing things down, and start putting together an execution plan, and start planning your life out differently. All right. Her son now looks up to me and even loves me and my dog I brought into the situation. Poor dog. Living out of a camper, right? I feel so bad about leaving them. It's not your responsibility, but we're going to get into that in a second. But I also had so many plans for my future, and I don't know if I can save her and myself at the same time. Let me answer that for you. You can't save her. Let me answer that for you. All right? Think of that rap song. She don't want to be saved, right? Who is that? What's that lyric from? Somebody throw it in the chat. Who listens to that shit? I do, so I'm not making fun of it. But really, though, there's truth to it. You can't save any girl. Any of you guys listening, all of you, all 5 of you, all 3 of you listening right now. No, it was usually a couple hundred people by the end. But all you listening right now, and all you who are going to listen over the course of the next week, okay, it's usually a couple thousand people by the end of the week that'll hear what I'm saying. You can't save them. You cannot save a girl. You can't save any girl. None of them. 0. How many girls can you save? This many. Big fat 0. What you can do is you can be a great partner to a girl who needs to fix certain aspects about herself. Maybe. Okay, maybe. But she has to do the work. She has to fix her own problems. You can hold frame in a relationship, and that frame can set standards, and those standards could cause her to work on herself, okay, to meet the standards of the relationship and of the frame that you have, because she sees that as a better life and a better way than what she's been through up to this point. And she knows, I got things about me that I need to fix and change. And a lot of women who are arrogant won't do any of the work. So you discount them. The ones who can see the problems and are willing to do the work, that's great. But they have to do it. And a lot of times, this is why you don't give away a commitment. The commitment should be earned, right? And so, I know circumstances are unique. Sometimes commitments get given away too early, and it happens, whatever. Okay. But the reality is, in a perfect world, you guys are casual until she works on her shit, so that when she comes to the relationship, she can be a compliment and not a detriment. Right now, this woman is not a compliment to your life, and she is mostly a detriment. And now you guys are codependent on each other to live out of a camper. The situation you're in is absolutely bonkers and screwed. All right. And it isn't going to change until you start working on this. But what do we have here? We have ourselves a bad example of a single mom. All right. A single mom who can't possibly, despite whatever mental gymnastics you want to use, cannot possibly be a good mom to her 11-year-old. Not when she has a drug problem, not when she is prostituting herself, not when you feel like you have to quit a job to be around her 24/7 so she doesn't harm herself. How in the fuck is she mothering anything? Okay. That's the situations. That's an extreme example of situations some of you guys get yourselves into with single moms. Okay. And now here's the problem. You have a bond now with this woman. That's easy enough to break. quite frankly, she's already cheating on you. That shouldn't be hard to break. Just imagine her taking all the dicks from all the other dudes do a meditation on it for 10 minutes. You'll be ready to break up in no time. Sorry to be harsh, but I'm not really sorry. Okay. I'm a coach and I'm not your mommy. And I will tell you the hard shit. All right. But the kid's not the kid's fault. And now you have this relationship with this kid. See what happens now. And this is part of the danger. When you don't make a good selection and you're in it with a single mom, you end up with a relationship with a kid. Now you have to break up with the mom. And it's traumatizing to the kid. And now you have to consider that in your decision making. And that's really hard. How do you do that? Right. And you do it. You have to do what's best for you. But it's easy to say on the internet, oh, it's not my kid, not my problem. That's not, if you're a human being that's worth a crap, that's not an easy thing to say. It's not an easy thing to do. And so you guys get into these sexual situations with these single mommies and you say to yourself, well, I'm not going to get in a relationship with her. She's just really, she's hot and we just bang and she, packs me a lunch and gives me a juice box and then I leave. Whatever happens with you guys who are with these single moms. What happens is she ropes you in with that ass. And next thing you know, you're playing, catch on Sundays with the kid, and living together. Now you're in this. Now you're not. You guys are not in control of your own lives. That's the fucking problem. Is that you get into it with a chick, you lie to yourself, you bullshit yourself. I know a lot of you. I say hit a fire in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. You don't have to admit to it being you, but hit a fire in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. We'll see if anyone wants to participate in that, or throw a good comment in there saying I know exactly what you mean, because that's what happens, and that's why we're talking about it, right? As you guys get into these situations, you tell yourself one thing because you're super red pilled or whatever the hell you think you are, and then next thing you know, I'm getting a comment or I'm getting a consult for those who can afford it, or I'm interviewing a guy for my group and having to turn him down because he needs other things, because he is so into some situation with some woman. He has no frame and is now completely reacting to things that are around him. He's completely reacting to the fact that he is now daddy to some kid that, it's not the kid's fault, and he's, poor kid needs something, but now it's your responsibility, but you have none of the authority, and the woman isn't a good chick for you to be with. And now you find yourself, you got to give your life up now because some woman couldn't make good decisions with her vagina. And now she has an 11-year-old, or a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old or all 3 or all 10. You see what I'm saying? You guys don't have frame. You guys don't have standards in your own lives. And then you get into it with a single mom and they work you over into this situation. And you find yourself in a situation now that you can't get out of very easily. That is the recipe for disaster. That is how not to ever do anything with a relationship as a man, particularly a single mother, because now you have a kid involved. And if you have a child, especially don't do that to your child. All right. You have other considerations. And so you need to make better decisions when it comes to the commitment in the relationship. Hey, having some casual fun, little Netflix and chill, go for a drink or whatever, have a little night in the town, have a little sex, and then go back to your lives. That's fine. Taking it beyond that into an actual relationship, you have another consideration now, which is a child. And do not think that you're not going to end up bonding with that kid. And it's even if you can break that bond easily, is that fair to the kid? You see what I mean? That becomes another factor now in a relationship, another massive stressor that causes you to go down a rabbit hole that you probably shouldn't be going down with this particular person. So that's the trap. This guy in this comment is a very timely comment because it came in on my last one of my videos, my shorter videos, not my live one, on Luca. And I happened to line up with me talking about single mama drama, right? And sure as shit, this dude is in a world of hell with a single mom right now, with a lot of issues and problems. And so you got my advice, my friend, but I'm using that as an example. You publicly posted it, so I'm sure you're okay with me using it. And you got, some things you got to work on and do, and it's a lot, man. Of course, the bright side is you're young and it's not as hard as you think. All right. But it's going to be hard, but it's not as hard as you think. Right now, you got nothing of value, okay, to bring to anybody. And so you need to fix that part. You need to get working again. You need to get financially self-sufficient. You need to get out of the relationship, and you need to work on you. All right. You need to have the inner game to do so. All right. And you have resources for that now. I'll pause now, and then we'll get more into the topic about single moms and my talking points. But we'll see if there's anything in the chat, Glenn. You got any supers or any questions or anything for me to address before I continue?
We do. We got some chats here. 1 second, sir. So these are all super chats. So thank you guys for sending in these super chats. The Rational Right asks, how to keep attraction high with wife and kids? With kids.
Oh. So in other words,
balance, like, how do you, escalate sexual, energy when you have the day-to-day life going on, when you have to put the little snotty nosed kids to bed and stuff,
Yeah. Well, you have to change the frame in your relationship, because right now, the frame that you've allowed to happen is probably a narrative that she's progressed forward, which is based on a strategic pluralism kind of default. And I'm going to talk about that. We talk about single moms in my talking points, so it's good for you to pay attention to that. But that strategic pluralism thing is basically, okay, whether you were the alpha guy she mated with, all right, in the beginning or not, all right, we'll just leave that open to your own self-discovery. But with kids, what's happened is the mental framework is that, once you have kids, then the dude sits in more of the beta-tized provider role. And that's where you're supposed to comfortably sit to provide, to be a good provider and comfort person for her. Problem is that's not what she really wants. That's just what she's socially conditioned to believe in. All right. Because most people, when they get married and they have families, are doing it with a beta provider, or they've taken a guy who maybe wasn't that and they've turned him into it. All right. The guy is socially conditioned to become it, and all she has to do is death by 1,000 cuts. Start moving it in that direction. Because you have to remember, from the female framework, having sexual desire brings forth a little bit of, we could say, tension. All right. That tension comes with anxiety, a little bit of dread, a little bit of insecurity. Okay. And there's a positive way of having tension and a negative way of having it. So women are constantly on an instinctual level. They're not aware that they're doing this. Women who are listening to me, you start paying attention to it, and you'll become aware of it. All right. Because what happens is, for you to be sexually open, for a woman to be sexually open to a man, she's putting herself at risk, essentially. So she is always constantly balancing the reward and good feelings, experience of sex with the risks. All right. And so, being used to that framework, what happens is, when you have children, a woman wants stability in her life, right? As a mom, that's okay to want that. But the need and the want for stability is going to cause her to push things towards comfort. So much so that you get in a position now where your whole life is working and having family dinners and driving the kids to soccer practice and doing this and doing that. And you never spend time with your spouse. You in a romantic way. You're trying to schedule in and steal time for starfish maybe once a week or once a month, if you're lucky, for some of you guys, sex, and everything else and the stressors and all the bull stuff is taking over that. And I've coached and counseled women who have been frustrated with that circumstance because the men are promoting and doing that and not being more sexually engaged with their wives. That's a trip. So don't think this is all women doing it. It is just, but women are the ones who are going to push that comfort. But it's because we're in a gynocentric social order, meaning the drive is to please the female narrative. It's not a criticism, not even saying it's a bad or a good thing. It just is. But with that, you get married, you have kids and comfort, right? And again, considering that most women do not marry their sexual best. Okay. Most do not marry the guy that's their sexual best. They marry the guy who's the best for them for raising a family. Remember, women are very pragmatic in their decision making. So they find themselves in that stable relationship and they push and push and push towards that. That means, so what you're telling me with that question, I'm not saying that this is necessarily your situation, but usually when a guy has that question, he's allowed her to be at least in control of some of the frame, if not all the frame, but I'll let you decide. I know that's an ego point for some men, a lot of men. I mean, most men, when they start off with a conversation with me, I say most, a lot of times they start off in a conversation with me and it's always, well, she's in my frame, but, and then they proceed to tell me a bunch of information that tells me that she is not at all in his frame. And in fact, she's in charge. So it's comical to me, but that's is a fact. Oh, what's up, Glenn?
Questions. Do you want to save them to the end or do you want me to, fire them away? We just have 2 more super chats.
Yeah. Give me a second. I'm finishing this one.
Okay.
Let me finish. Yeah. This is a good question. So at any rate, I'm losing my train of thought. So, but yeah, the woman is going to want to push it towards this comfort. You're not, if you're finding yourself struggling to find the time and this and that, and she's giving the I'm tired and the excuses and all those things, you're now in her frame. Okay. She has got the frame of the relationship. And that's something you need to maneuver back into a complete frame and mental model change. She needs to change her way of thinking. And that needs to be led by you. You probably need to change your way of thinking. And that way of thinking needs to change. And it needs to be this, that the sexual life and romantic life of the mom and dad is critical to the survival of the family. All right, I'm going to repeat that again. Your sex life and your intimate romantic life with your marital partner is critical, meaning it cannot survive well. Okay, the family. It's critical to the success and survival of the family. All right, your romantic and intimate life with husband and wife is critical to the success of the family. All right, 3 times I'm saying it in different ways because the kids will not grow up with a good model of what a good, healthy romantic relationship should look like if you are not in a good, healthy romantic relationship with your partner. So you're dooming them to failure. They're going to grow up with a shitty model. Like your daughters, your sons are going to have a shit model for how they should be allowing the opposite sex to treat them, for how they should be approaching their relationships, and for what standards they should be setting for themselves. If they don't get to at least see, not obviously not sexually, but see the effects of a loving romantic, relationship, and that cannot be maintained without a sexual component, period. Okay. And so that's the mental shift that has to happen because it's simply a matter of making it a priority. And right now, usually what happens is a wife is not making it a priority. Okay. She is, because to make that a priority brings tension to the table. And she's in a framework that we're supposed to give that stuff up to create a comfortable, stable life for a family. And that's the wrong framework. Okay. That's a framework of women who weren't in love with their husbands. All right. That's a gynocentric framework promoted by women who married the beta provider, which is most marriages. Okay. So, and then those marriages end where? In divorce, most of them. And the ones that don't, half the 40% that stay, 20% or more are just unhappy. They're roommates, like, and they're figuring it out. So like most of these situations are now working. And so the model, although it may be a comfortable one for how to raise a family in the suburbs in the United States, is not a successful one for even your family. Okay. So you need to shift that. And that's going to be not just a discussion. That's going to be a frame shift. A discussion won't work. All right. It's got to be an emotional and mental shift that she experiences. So you're somebody, if you have your shit together enough, I would recommend to click the link for an interview to see about doing my year-long mastermind program, because now I can work with you for a year to help you shift your relationship into a sexual framework again so that you keep your relationship. Because I promise you, if you don't, you'll lose it. And if it's not to divorce, it'll just be to a lukewarm roommate situation with this other person that neither of you are happy with. And somebody will cheat, if not both of you will, and that's just how it will go. Or you'll stay together for the kids, you know what I mean? Then lose half your shit when the youngest turns 18. It's not a good place to be. So you need to shift this. And what that is a series of prioritizing your sex life in your romantic life. I could have spent the time here telling you to take her on dates, to be spontaneous, to create sexual variety, in ways of doing that. I could have spent the time here, but it doesn't. Those are things that are actually easy to figure out when you prioritize it and when she prioritizes it. So there isn't this pushback when you're trying to engage with her sexually and she's like, I'm not in the mood and I haven't been in the mood for the last month. Like, there's a way to seduce your woman, okay? And there's a way to create and restructure your life so your family needs are still getting taken care of, but you're taking care of the most important need, which is the intimate relationship with your partner. Because again, if that's not managed, you're fucked. All right. So click that link and maybe book something with me, because this is not a quick fix, but it's a very successful fix. That a lot of guys get their relationships in a really good place with their partners and dodge that divorce machine and all that stuff by figuring this stuff out, by changing that mental framework and learning how to engage and promote intimacy in the relationship. You know what I mean? And how to do that. All right. Maybe I will make an even longer video on it at some point, but you need probably some professional one-on-one time. All right. All right, Glenn, what else we got? Those other two supers.
The next one is, hi, Paul. This is from Daddies.
Daddies. What's up,
Daddies.
homie?
Hi, Paul. Does asking small favors build attraction over time? Example, could you bring this, etc.? Question mark. Like basically, It's like asking little questions build attraction over time.
Yeah, done correctly with the other elements, sure. Yeah, because when someone does something for you, they are actually building an investment. Emotional investment builds through effort, okay, not through having someone do something for you. Like, in other words, you doing something for her, okay, may make her feel good, and that's important for her to feel good, but that by itself will not build a strong emotional attachment. Because if she is effortlessly just getting good feelings showered on her, what actually happens is, and this is human nature, it's not just women, it's just it's human nature, is they will begin to expect it. They'll lose gratitude. They'll be more unappreciative. And not only that, though, and this is the woman part of it, is hypergamously, they'll start to actually question your sexual ranking. are you actually her best, or could she do better? Right. If that's all you were doing was showering her with, acts of service and doing things, and never allowing her to do things in return for you. And that goes back to the part about complimenting your life. And I talked about this in a previous video, is you want to give women the opportunity to compliment your life. And I see this as a problem with a lot of guys who are really good guys. The girl's like, hey, she's coming over to see him and they're going to have dinner. He's cooking. Hey, can I bring anything? The guy's like, no, that's okay. When really he could use a bag of ice, a bottle of wine, and maybe, some ingredient he forgot. You see what I mean? Like, no, that's, this guy goes in the framework of, oh, I want to just take care of it, take care of her. I got everything. Well, she feels kind of rather useless then at that point. And at first that may feel good every now and then, like, oh, wow, like I'm being catered to. That feels really nice. But then what happens is she doesn't build that emotional attachment. She starts to wonder if she's, better than you, to be honest. The person that she's crazy for is the person that she is showing up for and doing things for. All right. So a woman wants to feel of use to her man. So give her things to do that will make her feel that way, not, menial, unimportant things, but things that are genuinely. Learn how to delegate, learn how to help her compliment you, because that will build her emotional investment. She'll be happier when you're able to do that. Yeah. So to answer that question, yeah, absolutely. It's actually critical. It's actually important that she does things for you and you help her to do that. So you guys, don't be afraid to ask for stuff. In fact, you need to say, hey, I need you to grab that for me or do this for me. You need to be that guy. All right. All right, Glenn, what else we got?
Question so far for super chats is coming in from Jay Lee. He says, much love. What is the purpose outside your family? What drives you every day? Have you ever dealt with someone who has psychosis, PTSD, and depersonalization?
Yes. Yes. I've had partners who've had that. I've had clients who've had partners who've had that. And I will tell you, that kind of a comment, and I don't know if this is true or not from the person asking, that kind of a comment, I'll hear something like that a lot of times from people who have a problem with codependency and a problem with attachments. And they're trying to justify why their bullshit addiction to their codependency is okay, is good. As soon as I say that's not healthy, somebody will say like, oh, but you don't know what it's like to have the person you love go into psychosis. How do you know that? How do you know that? Right? You don't know that about me necessarily, because I don't talk about I don't want to dime out every girl I've been with, and their problems. But no, I know exactly what that's like, and I've coached many guys. It's something that guys come to me for to solve. And the solution is never codependency. I promise you that. It's never being codependent. It's never the solution to that problem. The solution is always to help provide for them the framework to solve their own problems, to be a good support mechanism while they work on their shit, or to get out of that relationship because they're not ready for a healthy relationship. And so why should you be in a relationship with somebody who can't be in a relationship? Doesn't make sense. You could be casual, you could be whatever, but yeah, when they're going crazy and there's boundaries you have to set. And it's really hard to do that. I understand, when somebody is in that state, but you have to, you have to set the parameters, and you have to be looking for improvements. In other words, If you're with somebody who has all of these issues, you're doing one of two things. You're signing up for that for the rest of the time you're going to be with that person until you just can't do it anymore. You have to discard them, and then you feel like a horrible person after you've destroyed your own life in the process, or they just leave you because after they've parasited off of you and then you've destroyed your own life, you're not worth it anymore. And then they'll just go find somebody else, cheat, do whatever, and demonize you on top of it. They'll make it your fault. You know what I mean? That's what happens most of the time when guys do that. So that's never the solution. The solution is not to be in that situation to begin with until they're healthy enough and have a healthy enough framework. Or if you find yourself there, then there's standards that you set, and there's and your boundaries. Your boundaries are what saves you and keeps things together, not your codependency, not your breaking of your boundaries and standards because she has a problem. There's no excuses. There's no excuses. Even mental illness is not an excuse. You're in psychosis, cool. See you in 72 hours. You know, and when your drugs wear off, well, after they've sedated you inside a inpatient, we'll now talk about our next steps, and then how that we're not going to let that happen again. But if that's happening constantly, and this is just a person who they are, you're either signed up for it, and then you have to ask yourself why you're signing up for that, or you are looking for improvements at a rather drastic level. And if you're not getting those improvements, you got to walk away. And that's the end of it. And that's it. And that's easy to say. I know it's harder to do, but I will not sit here on a live stream and give anyone an excuse for their codependency and their attachment problems. All right, I won't do that.
So he comes up with the follow-up.
We good? We got anything else before I go to the
talking JD
points?
Did a little follow-up. He meant to. This is his words. I meant me, not a lady. And then he replies with, "But I think you did that. I'm not ready to date then till I fix it." That's what he said. So he was talking about personally.
So you're going through that stuff.
He's going through that stuff.
Yeah, dude, don't get in a relationship with anybody. You can date, keep it casual and all that stuff. And if anyone's trying to push for something more, understand this. When you're in an unhealthy mental framework, you're going to attract other people that have unhealthy mental frameworks that are going to want to rescue you, save you, or be a part of this relationship with you where they can be unhealthy themselves, right? And so you're not looking at a good, clean relationship. What's going to happen is you're not going to get with a woman that's this awesome, beautiful chick with all of the options in the world of healthy guys, but she's going to now be with you with your issues. Like, no fucking way. What happens is something is wrong with her. Okay. And that's why she's going to be with you. So have casual things are fine. You can have rather deep relationships with people that you're not committed to, in that sense, because you have to work on your shit, but they don't live with you. You're not seeing them every day. And now you need to work on your stuff to make sure that you have a stable framework for having a healthy relationship, with somebody before you do that commitment. And you do that for the sake of yourself as well as the other person, right? And what you're going to find is as you get yourself in a better, more healthier mental framework, what happens is your selection of women that you would choose to be with changes. All right. Your options change as well. You have better options in terms of their mental health, and how you would choose those people will change, because the person you're choosing is probably, at least as the guy, it does flip different. It's different the other way. It actually is. But when you're the male in the situation, generally speaking, it's the person that's going to want to be with you when you have these sorts of problems that take your life over. There's something messed up with them. You know what I mean? And so you don't want to be in a commitment. You want to have a clear head, not having had a psychotic or psychosis type of an episode in a while, having a good, stable mental framework and mindset so you can hold frame. You want to be in that situation. You want to be in that state for, a while before you're just taking on a relationship with a commitment. So, all right, we good?
He has 2 more follow-ups real quick, and then we'll be good. He says facts. My marriage didn't work out. My wife and I are separated but amicable. I have changed much after a lot of work, but I need to keep pushing forward. Jay Lee, I recommend you reaching out to Paul, going to his website, okay, at apexmindset.net, and check out his one-on-one consultations. Trust me, speaking from somebody who went through that, I know he's very good at what he does. He helped me through my problems. So I'm reading what you're saying, and I understand what you're going through. I was very similar to the same situation. So I'm just telling you guys, Jay Lee, check him out. Go get a one-on-one session. It's definitely worth the purchase, man. It's definitely worth the time. All right. But
thanks, Glenn. Appreciate the endorsement,
dude. We are good. No more super chats. No more questions.
Let's get into some single mommies. All right. Single mommies. Okay. So we did highlight a specific comment circumstance. Now let's talk brass tacks and get in the depths of it. I know all of the single moms that saw me post this on my social that are watching this are, waiting for me to talk about this and not the comments and the questions. But so we'll start off here with the framework. So you need to understand, and I'll mention the conclusion right away. Here's the thing about single moms, right? And about any woman. Okay. What's going to save you from a problem is your standards. Okay. And you don't change or drop your standards, particular non-negotiable standards, because a woman has a kid, or because a woman has a family of kids, or because a woman has a mental disorder, or because a woman has this thing or that thing or whatever. You don't just change your principles and your standards of how you expect to be treated, how you expect to feel in a relationship, and how, you expect to live your life because of somebody else's bullshit. And that includes children. All right. If you have that standard going into any situation with a woman, and you really maintain that, despite how good you might feel with somebody, despite all of the things that, somebody might try to rope you into a commitment with, if you really got that, those standards in order, and you're not going to compromise those standards for anybody. Right. And that needs to be the thing, by the way, because there is no relationship without your standards and your boundaries and your conditions. All right. All of those words mean slightly different things, but without those things, there's no relationship. There's nothing. There two people come together and maybe rub genitals, but there really isn't a relationship. There's no commitment that means anything if they're not standards and conditions that a person needs to meet to be in the commitment. And if they're not boundaries of that each person has for how they expect to be treated and the behaviors that they expect their partner to have and show up with, and for themselves, right? How you expect yourself to behave and show up, right? So like, if you don't have those things, and if they're just things that you can change based on somebody else's situation, then they're not really standards, boundaries, and conditions, are they? They're negotiable items. And if they're negotiable, well, then she can always just renegotiate the terms. There is no real relationship then. You see what I mean? And so what happens is guys have a picture in their minds, some sense of a picture, but usually guys actually just want vaginal access. They just want vagina. They don't have any real standards for themselves. They want someone just to touch. They're starving. You guys are starving for a nice girl to touch your pee-pee. And so once you find that, then what ends up happening is like you start going in a direction, you haven't had any forethought or awareness of what things you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept, what a commitment means, what those things aren't there. So what ends up happening, you got single mom. Well, hey, your vision of how things should be is different because I have this kid. You know what I mean? Well, I expect this out of you because I have this kid. I expect you to step up and meet my conditions because I have a child. And what do you mean you won't do that? That means you're a bad person because, it's a child, right? And all this stuff starts happening, and guys find themselves compromising values and finding themselves in this situation. Next thing they know, they're an Eminem song, right? They're two trailer park girls around the outside. I don't know what to do. 11-year-old is a child of blah, 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 right? So anyway, that's a conclusion. We'll start there with the conclusion for you guys, and then we're going to break down some more things. But that's how you stay out of trouble. Okay. Most of the time, we'll say, I don't know about probably most of the time. Most of the time, all girls, whether they have a kid or not, are going to disqualify themselves from your standards. Otherwise, you can just like marry any chick like today. Like you just get wifed up right now. Just go to the bar, find a nice girl. In fact, go to the strip bar. Find a nice girl, get a little lap dance going, and just OnlyFans marry her. You'll be just fine, right? No, obviously that's not real, and that's not how it works. Because most girls will not meet the standards of what you expect for your relationships, right? That's whether they have a kid or not. Okay. Add a kid into the picture. What happens is, because there's a kid in the picture and because of her mental framework and her mental models based on being a single mom, she probably just won't meet the standards. And it's not because she's a bad person. It's not because we should need to demonize her and you're a cuck if you go out with her and all this bullshit. Okay. It's not because of internet memes. It's not, fuck. So she made a mistake, found herself being a single mom. Like, wow, gee, if I got, turned into a meme for every mistake I made, I would have we could have a whole Facebook meme group based on my own mistakes. And I'm sure every one of you could say the same thing. So I'm not going to sit here and judge a single mom hard because she, whatever, banged the wrong dude or, whatever happened. All right. Who cares? Okay. That's not what it's about. What it's about is they probably cannot show up and be the person that you would want for an LTR because of the mental frameworks they have and the lifestyle they have. And the kid was a part of what created that, her being that single mom. But if she can, and she manages to, then guess what? You can have a happy relationship, whether or not she has a kid. End of story. There's the conclusion. We'll start with that, and then I'll back off from there. Okay. But that's it. I'm going to comment though, even though to start off with some of the guys who go, and I know this is a thing that they say, what some of my red pill friends have said, guys I respect and all this shit. But you know what? It's so it's dumb to me, and I'll argue it at any point if anyone wants to have a debate on it. This idea of like, oh, if you're with a single mom, then you're a cuck because you just got reverse cucked because you're raising another man's kid and it's not your kid. And really, you're a cuck now, whatever. Okay, look, listen. That was a thing that got promoted for a while. I don't know if some people still promote that to sort of scare some of you guys from making bad decisions because you don't have frame and standards in your life. So we have to now name call you. I'm going to call you a cuck for getting with a single mom. And so then you guys who are stupid, because some of you are stupid, it just is true. Hopefully not you guys listening to me, but like internet people, right? Like people watching a lot of content out there that, won't watch my content. Actually, they'll watch like dumb content, right? And go, yeah, that's it. Okay. That guy needs to be called a cuck so he doesn't wife up a single mom and end up in a camper. All right. Like that guy's an idiot. Cool. If calling that guy a cuck gets him to not end up in a camper with some booger eater and no job and wondering what happened to his life, all right, sweet. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you're a cuck then. Hey, everybody. Like, okay. But really, okay, here's the thing. Guys who have that mindset are usually stupid or not banging women. Like, if you really believe that, you're just not banging. You don't have sexual access. Well, I would not sleep with a woman who has a kid because that would make me a cock. Like, you just don't sleep with women. That's the thing. Like, what? That's like a guy says, I will only sleep with a woman if she is a virgin. Like, okay, you also don't sleep with women. So that's just stupid. Let's get rid of the shaming shit on single moms, because you just look dumb when you do it. All right. But there's real reasons not to go with most single moms, and we'll talk about it. But let's get rid of the dumb stuff. All right. The whole cuck thing. Here's the thing on that. If you're her sexual best, just because she had a kid with the other guy is the one who's getting like cucked essentially to be with you. You understand? Like, he's the one who is seen as the lesser option so she can be with you. What makes the difference is whether or not you are experienced by her as the sexual best that she's had. That's what matters. Now, if you are not the sexual best and you're the provider guy, who's the nice guy who will rescue her from her bad decisions, and really she qualifies to baby daddy more than she does to you, okay, maybe you're our cuck. All right, maybe that's your situation. But every situation where a guy, hooks up with a single mom and decides to have a new family, that guy could be and I know, because I know a lot of guys who are the alpha dude in that chick's life. Okay, they just are. And just because she made dumb decisions and slept with losers or slept with guys who are just lesser dudes, all right, that doesn't mean the new dude is now the cuck. Okay, like, no, cucking by definition, well, when we look at having a baby and lying to you, you're deceived into thinking it's your baby when it really was her sleeping with another guy. Wow. And she has you take care of the baby and you think it's yours. Okay. There's the deception. There's no deception here when she's like, I got a 5-year-old, just so you know, we can date, I'm dating, but you know what I mean? I do have a kid. And then you're like, cool. And then you bang her out and your mind's blown. And then you don't commit for a year because you're going to take the proper steps to make sure she can meet standards. And then she meets standards and you end up in a relationship. That's not a guy being cucked. All right. So just step off the internet meme. I know there's going to be some dork in my comment section going, that's a cock thing, like whatever. I've already seen it. When I posted the promos for this video. So, and not to shit on you guys who said that, because I know you got that from the internet, and some of my very trusted friends have repeated that same mantra, but it's really fucking bullshit. And so let's just get off the shaming thing right now. All right. Because we're not going to have an objective discussion. And that doesn't do anything, because I'll tell you, guys, once again, guys are still hooking up with single moms because the shaming stuff doesn't work. They know it's bullshit shaming. And then they make exceptions because the girl touches his wiener and is pretty. So when we do that and make these extreme things, it's like telling a teenager that marijuana will make you crazy. And then next thing you know, you're going to die of crack, like, marijuana is not necessarily good for you in most cases. It's definitely not good for a kid, but just remember during this just say no era, we demonize some a drug, and kids know it's bullshit and then they do it anyway. Well, that's what's the situation we're in with single moms right now. We demonize single moms. Guys know it's mostly bullshit and so or at least they think it's mostly bullshit. And so then they hook up with single moms anyway. So we're really not doing anything to help anybody or solve anything. We're really just sort of, throwing bullshit around the internet. So now that we got that clear, let's look at it from a more objective standpoint here. Okay. And you have the solution too, which is your standards. And just because she has a kid, that is not your problem or fault. She needs to meet the standard of being in a relationship with you. If she can do that with child, then okay, there's possibility. If she can't, she doesn't make it past casual. When you have that as your ironclad standard, because you have frame and you're an alpha man, all right? When you have that, you won't find yourself in a bad situation where you're have the responsibility for a child that you don't have authority for, and you're actually being cucked and you're not respected, and then you're calling me for advice. That won't happen to you when you start with standards. And most likely you won't even be in a relationship with a single mom, because the single moms, let me actually say, women in general and men in general that are good relationship quality are smaller percentage than the general populace. Now, the ones that are moms with kids, even smaller pool. So we're talking about a very, very small select group of women that would be actually okay to get in it with, and they happen to have a kid. Chances are the chick you're hooking up with on Tinder isn't that chick. So if you have standards, you'll avoid problems. But let's get into to the mental frameworks and some of the things. First thing we'll say is that there is mostly zero benefit to dating any single parent. Okay. I have a child. I have a son. So, I'm not really a single dad. I have an LTR and all that, but, and I co-parent with his mom, and we have a great co-parenting situation. Very, very fortunate. Okay. That I have that. That said, if I'm single and I bring in a new girl, my son is not an attribute I'm bringing to the table. Okay, my son, even though he's a cool kid, I like the kid, he's a lot of fun, he is not an asset to a new person. Okay, it is absolute arrogance if I were to think that way. And moms and single moms who think that way are coming from an arrogant framework. So already, if she is coming to the table like, I got kids and they're beautiful and amazing and great, and if you don't think so and think that, it's a plus to be in my family, when a woman comes with that framework, she's already saying, I won't give up the frame because I'm the strong, independent woman, and I need to, for my own safety and the safety of my children, because I don't trust men, have to be in charge. And I am also arrogant to think that you, guy, with your resources and freedoms, have to somehow qualify to me to be a dad to some kids that you aren't actually yours. That somehow that these kids I have are somehow going to be a benefit to your life. That mental framework is an arrogant framework already starting off. We already know a lot of single moms start off with that mental framework. So my standards for being in a relationship with someone is that they don't have arrogance, at least not to a certain level. I mean, sometimes people get caught up in it, but I won't be with an arrogant woman. I've done it before. I won't do it again. Okay. And so that's a standard I have. Well, if a woman has a baby and that's her framework, and that's a lot of women, we're cool to have sex, we're cool to hang out, but there's no commitment there. I do not want to meet your kids. There's no relation. That is not a benefit to me, because what happens is now then there's going to be no gratitude for me being, if I were to be in that person's life and be in her kid's life, there's not going to be the gratitude for me doing that. There's not this recognition that I'm actually, giving some things up, or I mean, looking at giving things up, but I'm taking risks and handling things and introducing a dynamic and a problem into my life that I don't have to do. I don't have to do that, so why to not appreciate it, to not have gratitude for it. I couldn't imagine being in that relationship, but that's a lot of you guys who get into it with single moms. That's what happens. And so we can get into all the complexities of things, but we can also stop right there. As soon as they show up arrogant, thinking that their fuck trophies are a benefit to your life somehow, you already know that she is not in a framework of being an LTR, in my opinion. Okay. Now, if she changes that framework, because sometimes women, they're stressed. They're trying to figure it out, and maybe that's just a bad framework, and she's very susceptible to changing it. But certainly, as long as she holds that mental framework, no commitment for you. Okay. So remember, your standards keep you out of trouble. So right there, sex buddy, not a relationship partner. Okay. Because you want to be with somebody who would appreciate introducing this dynamic into your life. it's something you don't have to do, right? So we want to recognize that it's an inherent negative, but it can be negated. The negative of children from somebody else and then introducing that dynamic can be negated by positive characteristics and value of the woman and value of the relationship. So she can be extra awesome, right, to you, and that negates the challenges of bringing her kids into the picture. That can be a thing, but she's got to recognize that, okay, like, I understand that this is a sacrifice somebody's going to be making to be with me, not something that they should be like, that I'm in. She can't come with a mental framework of being entitled, that somebody should want to take this on, or something's wrong with them as a man, like all that stuff. Avoid like the plague, right? But if a woman is a good catch, despite that baggage, okay, maybe so, right? All right. So let's talk about, though, the inherent psychological framework of a single moms in general and why they have a special set of challenges that single women don't have, all right? And it has to do with their instinctual drives, and many of them they're not aware of. So what happens when a girl is single, especially young and single? Okay, so she's not past like what we consider or what she would consider her own prime, right? So a young, hot girl, no kids. She's able to kind of think about and go for hypergamously the best that she can do. She doesn't feel rushed to settle into something, to a situation with a guy out of any sort of necessity. She can be selective. So if you're with a girl and she doesn't have kids and she is fighting for that relationship with you, and she doesn't have like dysfunctional patterns, she doesn't have financial problems that she's trying to solve with your money, she doesn't have like, she has a good life, and she wants to be with you because that makes your life better, and she wants to make your life better. That if you have that good, healthy situation with a young, hot, single woman, what happens is, that she's selecting you because she does see you as her hypergamous best. Hopefully the sexual best and the most desiring, but, that's, there are other factors to look at, but more than likely, because if she's a hot girl with her shit together and she has options and she doesn't have a child, she wouldn't be fighting or trying to get that commitment with you if she has those options, right? She would go for somebody better if there was someone better. And so you have much more confidence in knowing that she wants to be with you out of genuine desire for who you are as a man, and that she wants to build something with you because of who you are. And that's where the relationship needs to start. Any relationship. It's much harder to have that confidence if somebody is in a deficit and they're looking to solve that deficit by being with you. Okay. If they see you as a solution to problems they have. Kid not having dad is a problem. All right. And so if she sees you as a solution to that problem, that pushes her and skews her selection process. So you don't fully know as easily whether she's selecting you because of you and you being the best that she feels like she can do and wants to be with. And that is really critically important, because I promise you, you will not have the relationship that you want, nor does it have any potential for long-term success if she doesn't see you as that guy. Because there's something called emotional buy-in and her motivation. She simply will not have the emotional buy-in or the emotional motivation to want to be with you when she's told no, or when things get hard, or when problems arise, or when she's PMSing, or when there's a full moon. Like, you get where I'm going with this. Okay, relationships are complicated and hard enough as it is, or else they would be more successful than they are. So if you're not starting from a framework of her wanting to be with you and seeing you as the best she can do, you're going to fail. You have less confidence in knowing that's the case when she has major problems to solve and she's seeing you as a solution to those problems, namely the problem of not having a stable father figure around. All right. So she becomes on a deep instinctual level skewed in her selection. She is what I call hyper. She is hyper motivated in a strategic with strategic pluralism. Okay. Strategic pluralism is utilizing multiple options, okay, strategically to get her mating and reproductive needs met. It's the word strategic pluralism was turned into slang with Rollo's Rational Male series, the alpha, alpha lays, beta pays, alpha bucks, beta Fs, that whole thing, the alpha beta thing. I actually don't think it's just alpha beta. I've taken it a step further and I'll get into that. All right. Because it applies here. And I'll do a separate video on it too, because it's a good thing to look at. But it's not just binary options, though, strategic pluralism, but basically what happens is this. And so that idea from Rational Male, though, that came from well-researched principles and concepts, things observed from both the animal kingdom as well as observed with human dynamics, where a woman essentially wants the best guy, singular guy, that can solve all of her needs. Okay, this is, and then look at Brafalt's law too. It's very pragmatic. And she has all of her needs. She has her reproductive needs, have the most genetic alpha, the guy that she's most attracted to, the guy that can then resource provide, the guy that can support and be the good dad and have everything. She wants everything, okay? But in absence of being able to have everything, she defers to multiple guys to solve the various different problems. This is rooted in our polyamorous past. If the girl could be the alpha female and main bitch for the king of the tribe, even if it's a hunter-gatherer tribe, she probably isn't sleeping with other men. Okay? That king shit of the tribe is if she solves everything she needs to solve, all of her everything, then she's not giving it away. And in fact, since these were male driven polyamorous tribes, oftentimes if he claimed a person or two, if other men slept with that woman, they got in big trouble for that. You know what I mean? They could get ostracized, killed. Lots of bad things could happen. Even the girl could get in trouble too, right? So we're talking, human beings, right, where we have a violent past. And so polyamory was not a hippie concept in the tribes. It was actually very, very violent. And if a woman was claimed by the most alpha of men in that tribe, she had all of her needs met, or objectively speaking, she generally didn't necessarily sleep around, but in absence of not having that guy, because maybe it's with somebody who's lesser in that tribe, right, or whatever. This is where the whole concept of being cucked comes from. She's found a beta provider and then she gets pregnant with somebody else during ovulation. All right. These are things that would happen. Strategic pluralism. She'll sleep with a genetic alpha. She'll find the nice guy to take care of it. She'll slow drip, sex to the nice guy so that he stays emotionally involved in her and her children. Meanwhile, she's banging the alphas that don't care about her. All that sort of idea. That's strategic pluralism. Well, when she's been ejected from a relationship or had to eject another person, and now she is with kid in tow, she is now no longer looking for the king alpha shit. Okay. The tribal instinctual part of her brain is no longer holding out for that guy. All right. Like she was when she was childless and 20 years old. Now she's 27 and has a baby. Okay. She is now looking for a dude to settle in and have him provide her with labor, provide her with money, provide her with, some freedom, whatever it is. And then she, will pine for other guys potentially. And you'll see this in her, the way she shows up in their dating market. Like they're all over the place. A lot of single moms are, because they're not strong and independent and having all their shit together like the narrative says. They're really not, and so you run into these issues. They might have money they've siphoned from dad through the state. They might have state money that they're getting, and they might work a part-time job, and they have the kid, right? So they don't even, like, they're not, they're trying to be this independent force. They're not really independent. And then they basically will look for men and use men for pragmatic purposes. No longer, they're not having the dream like you'll have. And you listen to the way some of the single moms will talk. They're not looking for the dream anymore. Like they don't want the prince or the knight in shining armor to swoop her off her feet anymore. She just wants a dude who isn't a piece of shit that'll, like, play catch with the kids and give her nap time on a Sunday. That's a big settle, isn't it? That's strategic pluralism rearing its ugly head when a woman doesn't have options and it can't hold out for those other options. And so that's the real problem. The real problem is that it takes a very self-aware and, elevated woman who has an ability to meet all of her needs without you, in a sense, to come to the table and fall in love, and to take her time and fall in love because of genuine desire, see you as the best, and then you have a family in a couple of years. Okay. It takes a very special kind of person to be able to do that. And most women are not going to be able to. Most women will fall to a strategically pluralistic strategy. All right. Where they're siphoning money from baby daddy. Maybe, maybe they're even still getting sex from baby daddy because he's the actual alpha. And then they're looking for a nice guy to play catch with, Johnny, and pay for some things around the house and do chores. That's the problem. All right. And your standards are what keeps you out of falling into that framework. If you have frame and you have standards, then you won't do that. What causes you to have frame and standards? An alpha mind, right? So I have an alpha mindset course. That's why I'm doing an inner game summit, because that's your inner game is what's going to give you the mental and emotional strength to not end up in that situation. So when single moms tend to approach the marketplace, and this is a generalization now because it's a majority situation, right? It's not everybody, but they tend to approach it very pragmatically, which means strategic pluralism, meaning they going out and they're looking to get laid and pounded by an alpha, or they're looking to get, or just have some guy to have sex with who's a breeder. I'll just make the distinction between alphas and breeders here in a second. Or she meets nice guys and then she makes that guy qualify to her and tries to sell the idea, of her and the kid and how they come as a package and blah, blah, blah. And, she's been victimized somehow by her bad decisions that'll come into play. And then she'll make the guy wait. She'll make the guy, the good guy who, is good dad stock, she'll make him wait. And then she'll get railed in a parking lot by some breeder. All right. And this is a topic for another video, but I don't look at things. I think that's a binary way of looking at things. Just saying alpha and beta or whatever. And I know those are on scales or whatever, but I think there's more than that. You want to look at it more as 4 categories. I feel like is more productive when we're talking about when women decide to pragmatically use a guy for the relationship, right? For whatever the relationship is. When I say relationship, I mean LTR, but the interaction with that guy, right? So you have your alpha males, okay? You have the alpha. Now, women will reject alphas, so that happens a lot. And here's why that happens: because The alpha guy is someone they can't control. They're somebody that they want to have sex with. It's somebody that they know for a fact they can't keep, and they're afraid of. They're essentially, women have a mechanism in their mind that does at least attempt to protect them from getting alpha widowed so badly that they can never recover from it. Okay. And so that's why women will get nervous around guys who are true alphas. I say true alphas in the sense of they're not just necessarily breeding stock or fun guys, but they actually have check all the blocks, right? And in terms of dominance, and she has no control over that guy. She knows that she gets in a relationship with him, the power dynamic is shifted all in that dude's favor. That's the guy who's the alpha. Okay. He's both attractive to women, so women do sleep with him. So all you guys who are out there trying to be the lone wolf sigma males or whatever you want to call yourselves, who don't have friends and don't have women, okay, don't think that this is you, all right? Because it's not. All right, alpha guys get women, but they do have a lot of women because they're attractive, but they have a fair amount of women will also kind of reject them to a degree, or at least not pursue, or not, like, if you've ever heard this said, oh, I get this with women, they'll say, oh, you're trouble. When a woman says you're trouble, what they're indicating, and they get, like, when they mean it in a way, they're kind of, turn red, like you're attractive, and they're kind of like, I'm definitely not going with that guy, he's trouble. What they mean is that you're sexually attractive, and that you're going to put them down a rabbit hole of attraction and sexual tension that they don't have the confidence that they'll be able to keep and tame. All right, for a healthy relationship, they're going to be all over the place, and then they're going to end up leaving that situation broken, meaning alpha widowed, right, and unable to find a normal, healthy relationship to settle into. So when a guy is alpha, he's seen as dangerous. He's seen as trouble. You're going to have high sexual experiences with this guy. You're going to fall for him. You're going to wish and want that you could be with him, and then you don't have the ability to keep him because he has all these other options of women, and you're just going to be somebody he sees for a few months, he'll dump you and move on. So women actually will put barriers up to alphas a lot of times, and that used to confuse me a lot, because I would see guys who are attractive top tier guys, and arguably this happened to me as well at different times. Again, I'm not trying to cap. It's just, there are women that see me that way, and there are women that don't. And I've had, not just in my own life, but I've observed it. Guys who are like top tier dudes, and then women they would basically disqualify themselves, and they would not call the guy back, or like they would anxiously. And I've dealt with a lot of girls too, who are like, man, he's so hot or whatever, but no, he's too much. Like, no, there's no, like, they won't have vacation sex with that guy because they have a guy at home that they're seeing. And even though they're not a commitment, they could totally, like, their attraction tells them to do it. They know if they have vacation sex with this guy, like, they're going to be ruined for the guy they have at home. Like, it ruins their stability, so alphas bring up a level of nervousness to women that come with the desire and the traction. All right. And so alphas will oftentimes get disqualified because, remember, women are going to use the relationship with men as pragmatically as they can. That's how their brains are wired. And so when a woman doesn't think she can keep an attractive guy, she will often disqualify him, and sometimes do so overtly or publicly, let her friends know, so that she brings her perceived value up, okay, in front of her friends and in front of her social groups, so that she can get a guy who perceives her as high value, because she rejected the top tier guy. You know what I'm saying? I rejected top tier man over here, so I must have some value. And then, lower value guy goes, oh, gee, she's a catch. It does work as a mating strategy. All right. They don't know they're doing it, but they do it. And so women, they have the alphas. All right. But then they also have the breeders. What is a breeder? A breeder is your fuck boy. A breeder is your thought boy, right? Your breeder is your thug, life guy. You're Chad, you're Tyrone, but not the Chad and Tyrone that like has his shit together. You know what I mean? But we're talking, the guy who's been in and out of a job, since he was 20 and he's like 35 now. You know what I mean? The guy who's unemployed and, plays in a garage band, these are, I think this is a Donovan Sharp analogy that made me laugh. He's talking about the guy that the unemployed guy. She cheats on you with the unemployed guy who plays in a garage band. The guy's not an alpha. But what that guy does have is alpha traits enough for her to open her legs up. She thinks she can have an enjoyable, low consequence sexual experience with that guy. It's low consequence because, she doesn't have a bunch of emotions tied up into it. He doesn't care. He's kind of a douchebag, right? And so he doesn't care. And she don't care about him because he's kind of a douchebag. You know what I mean? She's not like overwhelmed by this guy's charm. She's just like, it was 1:30 in the morning. I need some dick. And Chad from the garage band who, just lost his job 3 months ago. I don't know, he's available. And so we went to his mom's house and fucked on the couch, right? Like that's what happens. Cause you guys like take yourself out of the internet for a minute, because some of you guys, I swear to God, you don't leave your closet and your computer. Think about go places, observe women, and look at who they sleep with. It's not always, top tier, investment banker or attorney guy who's like, spinning 3 or 4 really hot broads or something. It's not that guy. You know what I mean? It's not top tier married guy who has a couple side bitches, you know what I mean, that are just happy to they're just kind of overwhelmed with his attractiveness. That's not who they're always sleeping with. Usually who they sleep with, especially girls who are, fuckable, but not like 10s. You know what I mean? They're sleeping with a guy who doesn't know how to bend the brim of his hat. They're sleeping with a dude who, just bought a used motorcycle and, he's does seasonal work. They're not, because they're sleeping with guys intentionally that have no potential other than being a breeder. Right? Because they know it's just going to be some D. They hope that's going to be good D, right? Because their comparison is the fuck boy or the beta male. And so fuck boy is going to probably be better time in bed, at least with lower consequences than the beta male, who's going to be too nervous, qualify to her too much, and then be super attached and be like trying to be the nice guy, trying to encroach on her life. And it's going to he's going to guy who's going to over text and be that annoying guy. So, he's the guy who's sending dick pics to DMs, fuckboy guy. That guy does get laid by loser women. All right. And in fact, that guy ends up being who they get pregnant with a lot, because where is he in the picture when the kid is 11 years old? Don't hear about him, do you? So it's not a top tier alpha guy. Oftentimes, do you know what I mean? Oftentimes it is that fuck boy who's got maybe a couple baby mamas, right? Or is that Tyrone or that Chad or whatever that doesn't have a lot going for him, because she thinks, I don't care if this guy dumps me. I don't have any anxiety, so I can just be sexually free with this dude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. He's dumbed down. A lot of your PUAs kind of mimic that guy, and they get laid more often than the really alpha guys a lot of times, because it's low consequence sex with reward. And remember, they're always balancing the reward with the consequence, and they see sleeping with fuckboy as the lowest level consequence, but the reward is like mid. Sleeping with alpha guy, high reward, but high consequence. If it doesn't work out, he dumps her and all the emotional turmoil, right? And so the consequence scares her. So she goes for the fuck boy because that's not so scary. And it's You know, if it's bad sex, oh, well, I just had bad sex. I'll never do it again. Who cares? He's not even emotionally invested. I was good enough. All right. Well, I'll call him every now and then when I'm horny, you know, once or twice a month. And, you know, he does that with a few girls. And that's a few of you guys in the chat. A few guys are in the chats right now. You're chatting Tyrones. You're not quite alpha males. You don't quite have your shit together, but, you know, you get laid and that's good for you. And then, of course, you have your beta males. Those are the guys who have a lot of sexual scarcity. Okay. And they're qualifying to women and they're seen as, because of their behavior, seen as the lower tier men. And then you have your incels, which is fourth category. These are the guys that are generally not noticed by most women at all. And so those guys are the most sexually scarce. And that's actually makes up a very large percentage of men. Unfortunately, probably 20-30% of guys fit into the involuntary celibate category. And I don't mean the ones who wear it on their sleeve and climb on internet forums, but I mean just guys who just aren't attractive and don't get women to like them very often. And so, you know, you got your betas and you got your incel category. They're probably make up the most. That's probably your lower 80%, right? In terms of sexual market value. And it's not that you got your breeders who have low value as a human being, as a person, but higher sexual market value because they at least inspire some emotions in the girl that makes her have fun, you know, and the fact that she also hates him and the fact that she also thinks he's a douche works in his favor because it means it's a low consequence sex. And then, of course, you got your lower percentage of men, which is your actual alphas, who could be categories as that, right? And so, well, with single moms, they go out, they don't think they can get the top tier alpha guy. They'll try, but in absence of that guy, which, you know, is few and far between, they certainly, if they were to show up on a show like when Kevin Samuels used to do his show, they would be the ones to say, I want a guy who makes, you know, 300,000 a year. And I have 2 kids, by the way, you know, and I'm 32. Like that broad caps on Kevin Samuels' show and, you know, aims for the stars. Yeah. All women, they aim for the stars, right? But what ends up happening? They end up banging the breeder. All right. So when they go out to party, hang out, they meet a guy who makes them feel some type of way. They need some dick. They got a babysitter for the night. They're going to try it out with this guy. Maybe he'll be a regular breeder for the next 3 to 6 months where it's not a casual relationship, not serious. She just gets laid. She just, you know, and I've had girlfriends, female friends talk about their friends who are single moms and single moms. It's understood. Like when I'm the guy that the women have their walls down with and they feel they can talk to me, they will tell you. When you're that guy, they tell you the truth and they tell you things they don't tell a larger population of guys. And a lot of you guys don't know what it's like to be that guy. So let me share it with you, right? Women just casually know this. You know, it's like, yeah, she hasn't been a single mom. So-and-so hasn't been in a relationship in a while. You know, she's, you know, tends to make bad decisions with men, but, you know, she gets some dick every now and then. Like, she hooks up. She has that booty call, that D call, right? That's your breeder. Not that big of an emotional investment. Guy's not super high value in her life. Guy's not necessarily alpha, but he's not necessarily beta either. And she's just a hookup. So most of these single moms are getting, you know, they're not taking a sex break. Okay. Most of these single moms are not taking a sex break. They think a sex break for them is like 2 months after a breakup. They don't get some new dick in 2 months. They think they've taken a huge break, right? They have no idea. So some of you guys and me too, because I've been in times of my life where I've had a lot longer breaks than I would have liked at the time. And you're like, women don't ever have to experience that if they don't want to. So after a couple months, they find a guy that just, you know, makes them feel like I can have sex with this guy and feel like a woman, feel like a human being who has sex. And that's what she does. You know, she just has that dick that she just rides every so often, you know, so she doesn't go past the 60-day mark of no dick. You know what I mean? Feel good about herself, whatever, you know what I mean? And she tries to, if there's any drama that happens and she just, guy's out of there, You know what I mean? She go to the next guy, whatever, because she's got her kids to raise. She's got her job to go to. You see what I mean? So she will pragmatically go for that breeder guy, which may be you. All right. You may be fulfilling that role in her life. Okay. Or maybe you are actually the alpha, but you're not going to take her on in a relationship. So she's going to settle with that. But she'll have a lot more emotional investment, though, in that scenario, if that's the case, and a lot more hopes, dreams, and wishes. Okay. And then she does that, and she's waiting till she meets the beta guy that she can make qualify to her. He's the good guy who will take care of the kids and who will let her lead because she's the strong, independent mom. And she has, she's got, he has to plug into her life, and he has to qualify to her. He has to come over and do chores and, help her out because she's working and has the kids. He has to come over and make, clean her house and cook her dinner for her, which not that that's a terrible thing to do, but in the framework, it kind of is, right? He's got to earn her vagina through all of the love languages that don't involve sex. and then she can go, maybe he's a good, I'll made him wait because he would be a good dad. He would be a good, but the problem is, of course, her sexual desire for that guy is not even to where the breeders are. The guy that she, gets her little vagina wet over and fools around with him in the parking lot, and he's a well-known douchebag. That guy is a breeder. She knows he's not going to be a father to her kid. He's actually a safe option because the alpha man who has his shit together, that is a guy she can't control, and she can't afford to be with that guy when she has kids. You know what I mean? And that's at least her mind. That's what she thinks. And so this is what happens with most single moms and their mating strategy on an instinctual level. They stop going for the idealized partner and they start to fall. They would still like that guy, of course, and they lie to themselves. Most single moms are not going to say, I've settled and I'm not really going for this guy. They'll tell you all the mental gymnastics and stories about how they're really going for this top tier good guy. But the reality is they're not doing anything in their behaviors to get that guy, to include even getting noticed when that guy happens to be around. That's a threatening option for them. So what they're really doing is focusing on their own bullshit in life, getting dick when she wants dick from breeder guy, and that's a revolving door, and then looking for a beta. And when the beta provider comes in, then maybe she invites that guy in. And then she will throw sex at the beta too to get him, but then that sex goes away once she has him. And so she falls to a very pragmatic strategy, and she's in turmoil when she's doing all of this. She'll cry and she really just wants to be loved. And of course, because that's what everyone wants. That's what women want in general. That's what everybody wants. They just want to be loved. But her instinctual strategy, because she now has a child, puts her primal brain, her chimp brain, her mammalian brain in a reactionary mode of sleeping with breeders, trying to get betas, sleeping with breeders, trying to get betas, gets annoyed with the beta, maybe dumps him, finds another beta, still sleeping with this breeder on the side. You see what I'm saying? That's the strategy they end up employing. And when you represent somebody who's truly that alpha guy, they may try to go for you, but they will come at you either like you're a breeder, okay, which is actually good. All right, not bad. Or they'll come at you like you're a beta. So even this alpha guy, she'll then shit test immediately over text and first dates, where it's, trying to get this guy to, you know what I mean, to see if he will give up his standards, to qualify to her and all that stuff, give up that, and then even shame him for him being an alpha guy and having purpose and status and drive outside of her imperatives. You know what I mean? Then she'll do that right away. And so these are the patterns that you'll see. She's trapped into this behavior, doing all of these things, and she struggles to get out of that. When you meet a single mom, she's probably in, when her dating life is in turmoil, where she's trying to do this. You know what I mean? And so she's trying to get her sexual needs met and trying to get father for her kid, and she can't get the alpha guy to do that for her anymore, and or at least doesn't believe she can, and she won't wait. She's more of a sense of urgency now that there's a kid, right? Where she wouldn't have had that sense of urgency before, and she could take her time. All right. And so this is what you walk into when you deal with single moms. They they tend to want you to, they have difficulty being feminine, carefree, and fun unless you're a breeder, and then they do that for a night, and then they ghost your message, and then they, for a week or two, because they're talking to the beta guy, but they're not having sleeping with him. But then they call you again when she's horny. You see, that's what you run into a lot of. When you're on the breeder side of it, it's erratic behavior. When they're on the alpha side of it, it's a lot of high dread behavior. When you're on the when you're on the beta side, it's a lot of expecting you to qualify to her, and it's very arrogant. It's almost like she feels really, truly deep down inside, feels like she's lowering her standards of what she expects in attractiveness of a man by going for this guy who she considers a good provider. Therefore, he needs to be like, act like he's won the lottery, because she might give him her vagina, right? Like, say, if he's, she expects him to act like she's out of his league, because she really does feel that way. And so depending on your dating circumstance with a single mom, you're coming at it from one of these angles. All right. I mean, if you're not dating at all, you've been ignored. You're for that girl, at least, you're the incel category, you're the unnoticed. But if you're noticed, she's seeing you as the beta, as the breeder, or as the alpha, and you're experiencing that single mom from one of those angles. And it takes somebody who is very self-aware, has learned from mistakes, has overcome and understood a lot of her drives and her past toxic behaviors, because she has evidence that she makes mistakes, because she's sitting there with one of them, which is a kid and no dad. So we know she makes mistakes. That's okay. Everybody does. But it takes a woman who's been through and really understands, the mistakes that she's made, has taken ownership for them. It's really hard to find that, okay, with somebody who's in this circumstance, because their hyper strategic pluralism, okay, that's what prevents them from being a good partner to a top tier man. And it's because of her past decisions and her lack of awareness of those, and therefore that sense of urgency that she has because of the baby. You see what I mean? And so I could get deeper into it, but there's also so many things that happen there. And that's your real danger. That's your real problem. That's why most single moms aren't good fits, okay? Because they're hyper strategic pluralism, all right? And so let's talk about, now if a woman, how do you know if a woman is not in this position? Because they are great actors. They know how to play the role, right? They know how to play the game. So how do you know that they're not this hyper strategically pluralistic, crazy person in the dating market? How do you know that? Well, you know that when they're not sleeping with a bunch of breeders. So that's the first thing. They show sexual restraint and delayed gratification. What that means is it's not about the sex, it's about the energy and time. They are realizing that to meet a top tier guy, they have to open up their time and energy and effort to meeting that guy and being courted and getting into it with that guy, right? Which means she's got to hold off. Like, she can't waste her time with breeders and betas. that's a time sink for her. She has to leave her options open for that. So now what you'll notice is that she is not in a rush. If she has her shit together and she happens to have a kid, she's not going to try to rush you into a relationship. She might not rush off to bed with you on the first date either. Whereas single moms classically, I could almost count on, if I wanted to get laid on a particular night and I went into a populated area where alcohol was involved and there are women there, okay, that go out, I can almost guaranteed, like, I'm getting laid, and I can almost guarantee I'm getting laid by somebody as a kid. If it's not the club scene or something where there's like mostly younger girls who don't have kids. If they're, if I'm in an area or out where women are between, late 20s to early 40s, I am banging somebody's wife probably, or somebody who has a kid at home and they're divorced or separated, whatever. Why? Because they're quicker to sleep with you. They're very fast to do it. They're going out to find a breeder to get laid with, and they see that opportunity, they do it. And so that's what you're dealing with. If you're waiting for sex on some single mom who seems to be rushing you into a relationship, understand that she probably had a guy finishing her not too long ago. Maybe it was yesterday, maybe it was last week, but be sure it's not multiple weeks that she hasn't had somebody inside of her if she's trying to rush you into a relationship and, making you wait for sex on top of it and basically making you be that beta male qualifier to her. Because see, if you're alpha, she might try to push you into a relationship and commitment, but she's also showing a lot of sexual desire and sleeping with you as quickly as she'd sleep with a breeder. Or she's discounting you altogether, like, because she doesn't want to get herself in trouble. Like, she's doing those things. So it's a different reaction when she sees you as the alpha guy, right? When she sees you as the breeder, she just she'll make sure she's drunk enough and she'll sleep with you. When she sees you as the beta, though, it's, well, I have a kid and let's take my time and all this bullshit. But then she wants you in a relationship right away, and maybe even wants a relationship and sexual commitment before having sex with her. Well, if she's trying to do that within the first couple dates, she's probably been railed and gets railed. Right? She has a guy on speed dial she can call to rail her out if it doesn't work with you, and she's probably been using that. All right, and I've too many times, girls just like to lie, dude. They love to lie. Too many times I've run into that scenario to think that it's not true most of the time. All right, with girls who are trapped into that paradigm. So a girl who's not in that is going to take her time to a degree, not necessarily make you wait for sex. She won't waste time with you if she doesn't find you sexually attractive. So she might not be the girl who's out on a girl's night getting herself drunk enough to sleep with you. She might just get your number that night, but she's not making you wait for sex either. Because if she isn't sexually attracted to you and doesn't want to sleep with you, she's not even going out with you. You see, so she's not wasting her time and she's taking her time. And she could be in a non-committed relationship for several months. And I recommend 6 months to a year, all right, before there's any commitment involved. Because she has her shit together and she can take care of her kid on her own without your help. The reason she's with you is because she wants to be with you, not because she's looking for a need to get met in a rapid way. So that's your safety. Is she taking her time? And is she trying to rush to introduce you to the kid and like all those things? So that's your first safety thing. Okay. Is she trapped up in strategic pluralism, or is she still able to use her reasoning faculties to kind of see her way out of that? And it's not going to be as many women who can see their way out of that, despite that every woman will say that she's got it together. They lie. Okay. They lie and they're not self-aware. That's just the way it is. You know what I mean? In general with people. So I'll close off before we get into final questions with what can be some benefits. All right. Benefits are if she is able to show up and be that good LTR material chick, despite the baggage, which is the child that comes with it, then that makes her a good option. And so I went through in that video, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago, I think, one of my episodes, but where I talked about what is it that makes a high quality woman, right? If she is a high quality woman, despite her kid, meaning she is sexually attractive, she is sexually available, she is all about sex with you, she sees you as an alpha, as a desire for you, she's feminine, submissive, falls into your frame, she's able to do those things, she complements your life and is not a detriment to your life, which is the biggest problem with single moms, is that they're going to not be able to complement your life very well because they have all this other shit to deal with. And then instead what'll happen is they'll end up being a detriment to your life, expecting you to come into their world and take care of things for them, to free them up so they can be a woman for you. Well, no, that's not how it goes. She needs to be a woman for you first, and then that earns the partnership where you're helping each other and you're complementing each other's lives and not being a detriment to each other. All right. And so she has to show and demonstrate, have that ability, right? Have, the ability to communicate using Ensa on her side, Luca on your side, and not having toxic communication patterns, right? And so those are things she needs to be able to do. And if she can do those things despite the kid, she could be a good match for something like an LTR. All right. How about circumstance? And how this usually happens is oftentimes going to be circumstantial bonding. In other words, she's in a social circle. She's someone you've known, or you've known her for a while, or whatever. You guys like each other. You guys start hanging out. She happens to have a kid. This isn't usually the girl you find on Seeking Arrangements, all right, or Tinder even, right, or even on a cold approach, although you might, because then once she's like, I have a kid or whatever, she's probably going to be in a strategically pluralistic framework, and there's no development that happens beyond maybe casual sex. But when you've known somebody, like she's a part of circles maybe, and there's a circumstantial kind of emotional bonding that happens, and then she's sort of elevating herself, and she's able to step outside of that hyper strategic pluralism and see you as maybe a best option, and that circumstance is right. That's how oftentimes, if it does work, it does work. I rarely see it work without that happening, with that circumstantial bonding, where you're not really looking for it, certainly not looking to wife up a single mom, and she's not looking for it from you, but it just sort of happens. And then she meets the characteristics, qualities, your standards keep you okay, and you like the relationship with the kid, and it's not anything crazy, so then you do it, and so that can be a benefit. It could also be a benefit to some of you guys who have kids yourselves, as long as they're, because you're a parent and she's a parent. Sometimes there's a Brady Bunch now scenario, take it back to the 70s and the Brady Bunch, where two people meet, okay, and because of circumstantial bonding, they get together, and one happens to have a kid, the other happens to have a kid, now they have a big family. That could work, okay, as long as she meets all the criteria of a high value woman and falls to your frame, meaning you're not being made to be responsible for kids that aren't yours without any authority. No, you have authority over the household, right, as the man and as the husband, and or whatever it is. If that's the thing you grow into, that can be a benefit. Whereas maybe a single chick who doesn't want to deal with your kid, you know what I mean? Like, maybe a chick with a kid is like, yeah. Now that's provided by the way that there's no conflict with age or gender. All right. Meaning that the age differences do not create a logistical conflict. There aren't too many kids on one side. Like she has 5 kids and you have 1. That's probably going to be not a good scenario. Okay. And you want to keep this in mind, that the biggest danger to a female, okay, growing up, is another male, particularly another male that is not of the same genetic stock. So if you have a daughter, for example, and she has 2 sons, that creates a problem potentially because they're not blood relatives. And so there is a mechanism that has to do with our scent and attraction that, generally speaking, we don't want to hook up with our siblings or our blood relatives. All right. They're too close. And that has to do with our genetic, bonding mechanisms that we use, smell and pheromones. And that's pretty well researched, right? Not to say that incestual stuff doesn't happen, but it generally there's barriers to it, and those barriers are not there between step siblings, those genetic barriers. So you got 2 siblings who are a male who's 14 and a girl who's 12. You might have a recipe for some scenarios of that girl getting introduced to sex a lot sooner than she should be if you're not watching what's going on, and depending how dysfunctional it is. So you got to be very protective over the girls and the daughters in these scenarios with where the males are, and everything. Okay. And so that's, protective of both, though, obviously not just one, but particularly though it is the girls that'll be victimized by the males. And that's for single moms, or, listening to your stepdad is a risk. So girls who bring in these toxic stepdads, and toxic stepbrothers, especially like older and she's a younger girl, like this is not good. Okay, not good. So that can't be there. But if those situations are mitigated, well, maybe having a family, whatever, that can work, provided she meets the standards, right, for being a good relationship partner. All right. It could be logistically beneficial and not detrimental if you've met and are bonded and are in the same circles, same, type of job, live in the same town area, all that stuff. Maybe, whatever that can be logistically beneficial. All right. When you have that partner. So there are benefits that could be there, but she has to qualify as a good partner once again by meeting the standards. Right. Now, there are other benefits being with single moms that have nothing to do with long-term success, just having a good short-term sex partner. Look, single moms, girls with kids need dick too. And this is why they have sex with breeders all the time. Right. So just having a mutually, but I say that flippantly, but really having a mutually beneficial sexual relationship, it's not a bad thing. That's casual. And what's nice about single moms is they're not blowing your phone up all the time. A lot of times they're not, they got their own life. They see you as a guy that they're happy to have sex with, even if it's the alpha that they know they can't keep or whatever, they can manage their dread. They're just happy to be there. And then you go do your thing. So if you're somebody who's not really ready or wanting a long-term relationship, okay, a girl with a kid who has her shit together can be a fun casual sex partner that you meet, a few times a month, and you guys have a casual sexual relationship that can be very good, very beneficial to each other without any BS. You're not entering each other's families. You're not becoming daddy. None of those things. You're just, she has sexual needs. You have sexual needs, and you like each other. It's not toxic. These are some scenarios that can be good and some benefits. All right. But obviously, the long-term benefits are going to be harder to find a woman that can fit that. And the reason why really does boil down, it's not this thing about being the cucked thing. 'Cause if you're her sexual best, it doesn't freaking matter, and if you take on a kid that's not your kid, as long as she's not in the ex's frame, and as long as there are hard boundaries with that ex and you're the priority, it doesn't matter. Okay. None of those things matter. That's all internet garbage speak. Okay. You're not being cucked. She didn't deceive you by sleeping with somebody before she met you. All right. It's just, you can Guys can take care of a kid that's not genetically theirs and do just fine. So those aren't the reasons. Okay. The reasons are her mental framework and what happens. All right. Now some things to be aware of, if you find yourself in a position where you're seeing a single mom and she wants you to have responsibility, but isn't wanting to give up the authority, run for the hills. Okay. She's betatizing you or sees you as the beta at that point. And she can't help it. She's just going to try to get her needs met, and it's not going to be a good situation. You have to have the authority in the relationship as the man, or it will not work. And so you definitely, especially if she has a child, if you enter that LTR, take it past casual, you have to have the authority as a parent, as a parental figure, and she has to defer to and support that authority, or else you're not putting your resources into that child, into her like that, and you're certainly not going to take responsibility like that, right? And so that's something you need to be aware of. And a lot of these women are getting steady income from their ex and alimony and the state, and they don't necessarily need your income, but they want, and so they're not going to give up any authority to you at all either. And so you don't never be in an LTR like that. Never be in an LTR where you don't have that authority. And I would at least want some level of authority, even with a casual partner. Now, a lot of guys will say, well, you're not her first priority. The kid will always be the first priority, as if that's an issue. Well, it depends on what we're talking about. Casual partners, I don't want to be a girl's first priority as a casual partner. I want to be her first sexual priority for sure. But her whole life priority, like, no, because then she's going to be all over my shit and in my space all the time. And now I'm in a committed relationship when I'm not even wanting to be in one, right? Like a casual partner, she better have other things that she is doing and that come first in her life, to include her child. I'm just the sexual priority. She's not wanting to get D from anybody else. Hopefully she wants to come to me, or at least come to me first, right? If it's a non-committed casual relationship. Okay. But being the first priority, that's not something I care about unless I am in a long-term thing. Now, as a long-term thing, it's not about first, it's about different. You know what I mean? But if she can't make you, it comes down to it. It's not about first priority. That's a very childish way of looking at it. I feel like, not to disparage my friends who've used that analogy, because I understand where it comes from, but it's actually a very unevolved, very childish way of looking at it. That's almost like saying, that's like when a kid asks, well, who do you love more, me or my brother, or me or my little brother? You're like, wow, you should love me more, like it's childish. Who's first? Like, come on. All right. It's not about that, right? But what it is about is authority. It's not about first. Who's our first priority? Your kid will always be a priority, but in a relationship, you should be a priority too. And not just a priority though. You should be an authority. That's really what you want to look for. If you're going to do a relationship with a single mom, you have authority. Okay. That is commensurate with any responsibility that you're expected to have. If you don't have authority, do not be in that relationship. Okay. So most of the time, most single moms will disqualify themselves because they will not meet your standards. They won't be able to be in a feminine framework because they have to take care of everything themselves. They won't be able to be in a healthy commitment because they still are hung up on an ex, or they're seeing a breeder on the side and they got this going on and that going on, right? Like they're just not going to be healthy, right? They'll have baggage and bullshit. And so they won't be able to be feminine. They will expect you to show up and do a bunch of things that are a detriment now to your life because of their things that they have going on. They're just, most single moms are just not going to show up and be a good partner for you. And so it's not to demonize single moms. That's just the fact, because of the decisions they've made, because of the lack of self-improvement that the self-improvement they've not done from those bad decisions, right? And their mental framework and all of that. Most of them are in a hyper strategically pluralistic state, just looking to get needs met, and they're takers rather than givers. They don't give value, they take value. And they get in a relationship with you, or they get in a dating scenario, they go out with you and they're thinking right from the get-go, instead of having an experience with you, they're thinking of, what can I take from him? Whether it's your dick because you're a breeder, or whether it's, a nice dinner and making you pay for it and interviewing you for dad, and all of those situations are an absolute no-go if you're a high value guy with options. And so I'm not saying never date a single mom, but when they show up and they don't meet the standard, even from the get-go, it's see you later, bye. Okay. And for all you, I know I have women that listen to me who are single moms. I hope you're taking inventory on this, so you know how to show up, understanding that your situation with your kids from another, dad is not an asset to any man. It's a detriment, but that's okay. Not to shame you for it, just is. You have to overcome that detriment by being a better woman than what that guy would see out there in the marketplace. And so when a woman shows up and she's an awesome chick and the kid is not a detriment to your life, right? Then that's how women who are single moms can compete and get decent partners, and those scenarios are where some of you guys might be able to say yes to them. But most of the time it's going to be a no. All right. And that's just the way it is. And it's the cold hard truth. So Glenn will open up for some final questions. Wow, went long today. So we're going to keep them short. What do we got?
Yeah. First one, T Diamond. She says, and I'm just saying she because now I know it's the girl. We just know T Diamond.
T's our friend now. She's in our social. She's our wing girl.
Exactly. She asked, it seems like all relationships will end at some point. So most people will be single parents in their lifetime. It's more likely if the kid is in W or OOW. I don't know what that is, but
yeah, I don't know what OOW is, but yeah, I mean that's a truth. But here's the thing: that's a standard now that we've sold ourselves short on. In other words, people are no longer, pursuing. They say they're pursuing, but people are no longer objectively pursuing long-term relationships until they grow old. They say they want that, but they're not like saying, how do I actually get that? Like, who do I have to be, and how do I have to select in order to get someone in my life that could last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, that I could have that family with and have grandkids with and still be with that person. Women have sort of given up on that, and so have men too. And so they're kind of looking for, they say they want that, but they have no idea or clue of how they need to show up to get that and who they need to be selecting. And so that's the challenge. So that's why relationships end a lot sooner than they used to. One of the reasons. I mean, there's other reasons. Global sexual marketplace is another. Higher expectations actually is another. So there's a number of reasons. But with that, yeah, and that means that there is going to be more single parents out there. So it's something we have to deal with. The majority of people are not going to make it when it comes to their relationships. They'll be happy for periods of time, and then they'll have periods of unhappiness, and they'll oscillate that way through their entire lives. If you want to be somebody who wants to have long-standing happiness, then you have to design your life in order to have that. It's just like anything else. You have to design it and go for it. And so, if you find yourself a single parent, then you have to recognize the detriment you're in and then how you mitigate for that, and don't expect other people to give you Don't be entitled, right? Like women and men shouldn't be entitled into thinking you should want to take care of my kid. Like, no, that kid, other than a mention of I have a child, that kid should never even enter the equation of the sexual framework and casual relationship within the first like 90 days. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be introducing as a parent. Like, I abide by this rule. I don't introduce new people to my kid as my relationship partner or anything like that. And he's old enough, and he's a boy, and he's old enough, right? Like, he's not, he's not a baby anymore looking for mommy or anything. So, and I still don't just introduce any girl, like girls was dating or whatever. Like, I don't just introduce them to my kid. I kept those things very separate. It has to be somebody I'm building with and have some confidence with that's going to be around for a while before I introduce her. And that should be the mental framework there, So, yeah.
And just so you know, OOW, look, I'm going to learn you today. Okay, I just got learned. It means
What?
out of wedlock. Thank you, chat, for educating us boomers over here on what the
out of wedlock.
The acronyms
yeah, sure.
are.
Well, things are more unconventional nowadays, but I mean, if you have a kid with somebody, you should be wanting to at least be with that person. You should be aiming for a lifetime relationship. That's my opinion. Otherwise, don't have a kid. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it.
I agree. I second that for sure. Next question. We have Ernesto with $5 Canadian dollars. What are your thoughts on a large portion of high quality women having been married / shackled early in life compared to lower quality? So I'm thinking he's thinking like, what are your thoughts on like the high quality women getting wifed up right away and then kind of stuck in a relationship, and then compared to the low quality women who weren't?
Yeah. I think, he's got a good point with his question here, which is this is why, by the way, I don't just discount single moms the way that the internet does to get likes. Okay. Because you could have a girl who's, not sexually promiscuous, has a decent mental framework, finds herself married, let's say at 21 years old or something, you know what I mean? Or whatever. And is in a real, but she's just not that evolved in her understanding of relationships like most people. And maybe that guy's not, they're not the greatest match. And she finds herself divorced with a kid, maybe two, a decade or more later. So let's say she's 33 now and she's divorced and she has a kid. Her notch count is pretty low. She's not running through dudes and treating people like they're disposable. She has a decent mental framework. She just didn't know relationships that well and didn't understand herself and a lot of the things that we understand and that we talk about here on this channel, and found herself divorced. Does that mean that she's a terrible partner? No, of course not. She may be a better partner in that specific scenario than the 21-year-old that has no relationship skills and who's on her, 35th guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if she's still attractive at 33 and, take care of herself, that's going to be the first criteria. She is a catch despite the child she has. So how am I going to sit here with a clean conscience and a straight face, knowing that that woman does exist? Because I've met her before, never hooked up with her. There's a couple of girls that are really hot and in their mid-30s who have kids, and I'm like, if I were single and they were single, I could see that happening. If I'm just happily with my younger broad, but hey, when I'm single, I'm not putting an age limit. It just so happens that The ones that end up being more fun and end up getting more dates with me happen to be under 25 years old. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean I wouldn't be with a 35-year-old if that person shows up as the right person. And I can think of not a ton, but a couple in particular who they're a good match for a dude. They're hot as hell and they're cool as hell. And they got their shit together, man, like in a lot of ways. And that was their experience. They got hitched up young because they had religious values, they had different values, didn't work out, and now they found themselves back in the market when they're still very sexually viable. We're not going to discount those women, but those aren't the majority of them, though. So again, your standards are what's going to keep you safe. That girl, couple girls I'm thinking about, they can meet the standards I'm thinking about too. Okay. My vast majority, like a lot of these girls, which is ones with kids and ones without kids, the vast majority of them will not meet the standard. And so your standards keep you safe. You know what I mean? So. I think you're mute.
Yeah. So, you know, it's funny that you mentioned this because like my girl got a sister who's a single mommy, right?
Yeah.
And she's a single mommy with 3 kids, right?
Oof.
From the same baby dad. Like they were like together.
Yeah.
But dude, you know, ended up fucking around with some drugs and then went crazy. Now he's in prison. Bad choices. You know, she made bad selection, but it wasn't that way from the beginning. But somewhere along the relationship, he just, you know, went left.
Shit just went bad.
And it's like, I feel bad
there
for
are
her.
Bad dudes out
like,
there,
I
man.
tell her,
unfortunately,
like, you know, even on your best day, even if you were a 10, even if you were a 10, right now, just with the kids, you're like a 6, 7, you know, on a
it's
good
hard
day.
with 3, dude. 3's tough one for guys.
Well, it's like you subtract 3 for each kid, right?
I know, God, that just makes it hard, man.
It is, and it's just like they could have their shit together. This girl is like, I think she's a nurse or she's a medical assistant. Like she does good job. She has great money. She has a good career, you know. But it's just like nobody could get past the 3 in tow. And I don't blame them either. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because I mean, like a guy like myself, like it's not that it's a great thing if a girl's a nurse and has a career, but I don't really give a shit.
No, it just kind of goes with her head on her shoulder, right?
Right. But I'm just saying, like, for qualification purposes, it's great. Like, I'm happy for her, but I don't need her money. She could be literally, she could be unemployed, and I don't care. As long as she meets my standard criteria as a person and right, that's what I care about. Now, obviously, unemployed and not be able to take care of herself during the dating phase would be a real challenge. But, you know, by the time it's LTR, like if that girl, like a nurse, let's say, quits her nurse job because I can financially take care of everything else and she's the perfect partner for me, good. You're a retired nurse now. Congratulations. You're my girl. I don't care. Exactly. So that's how most guys who like, we're talking about that high status male, let's say that the Kevin Samuels, you know, guy who makes, you know, $300,000-$400,000 a year, that guy or something. That's how most of those guys think. And so they like her attributes that your girlfriend's sister has are great as a person and as a mom,
but not
have zero fucking value to a guy who could take care of all the business.
And you know what? Here's a thought though. Here's just to throw this out there, and now I'll get back to the questions. But like, do you think to a degree, when you're quantifying the fact that okay, she's a single mom, she has kids, and she has a good career, do you think that should factor into some degree? Because she could be a single mom with no career on welfare, and that would be a shittier person, right? You know, so if she has a good career, I mean, she at least knows how to adapt, and she was responsible and did the right thing, and she got her shit situated and wasn't relying on anybody else. So, you know, I think that's where I'm like, okay, maybe the career has some little bit.
It's a good, like it's really who she is, though. Right? Yeah, her character is good, you know, and the fact that the career is evidence of good character. But at the end of the day, like if she's like, I can't see you because I got, double shifts at nursing for the next 7 days and my kid to take care of. That's not a benefit to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I respect that, but that kind of sucks. And I would rather have the girl with less shit to worry about that's going to come over tonight. You know what I mean? And so to get even to and if we're at an LTR point, because maybe you're just sort of seeing someone casually, but when it gets to the LTR point, like, the fact that she achieved those things is a testament to her character. But if it comes down to it, like, if she's like, let's be in an LTR, like, yeah, you can go work half time now because I'm just going to pay for shit. And I don't care. Like, that's what a high value, high tier guy will do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, it's like, it's not a simp thing or any of that. It's like they've spent the time dating. They've been dating, and being separate, finances, all that, 6 months to a year, and then it's just like, yeah, we'll cut your hours back because I want to do more shit and bang you more often. Oh, okay. Well, I guess my nursing job doesn't matter. No, it doesn't. And so for
You could
her,
wear
it's
a
a
different
shame.
nurse outfit.
Yeah.
Crotchless panties.
Right. I just want you to wear the outfit around the house, and it's like, this girl with 3 kids, man, that is so, I feel for that girl, but I'll tell you what, my first client, I hope she's okay with mentioning her name. I want to say her name, but my first client I ever had, paying client, because I had a lot of military guys get advice from me and stuff like that, and a few women too. But my first like paying client was a woman, and she has 5 kids, and she is also hot. Okay. She's a fitness personality, and does that. So she is very attractive, and she bagged a younger guy, and she's doing fine, like, more or less. I mean, she's doing, the large scheme of things, doing fine because she checked the blocks on the things I said, because she listened to me. Right. So she, checked those blocks, and those 5 kids are not necessarily an asset, but a guy who was actually younger than her, but old enough, not like some 21-year-old, but he's, a little bit younger than her, was okay, because she's a pretty girl. It was okay to step into that frame and do that. I mean, from her strategy, she's a winner. She's a winner, and she had 5 kids, but you know what? She checked that first block, which was attractive. She went to the gym, and she was not always like fit. Like, she has her before pictures, and she got herself into a fitness model, category and looks, and she maintains her SMV because it's critical, because that's what she owes. And if she owes that to this guy who stepped into that framework and is willing to be her marital partner, you know what I mean? And shows up and is that feminine person, and she shows up to try to complement his life, not be a detriment. Like, she does all the things because she listened to me, and also her own mental framework. And she's a great example too, because she got married when she was really young. And I want to say it was like her first guy she'd ever been with. That's who she married. And she was religious, so she had 5 kids. This is what happened. But there was hope for her. So I'm not going to sit here and spread hopelessness all around for single mommies.
I don't think that either.
That
like,
too,
I think
yeah,
single mommies do have an opportunity. It's a lot
they
harder.
gotta overcome it. It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder, dude.
To me, I think if you're a single mommy, you got to have your finances straight right out the gate, because no guy wants to inherit additional debt called kids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he wants to know that at least that you can handle your own. And that was what somebody in the comments mentioned, which I thought it was a good point. Who was it? Dermo. He goes, I think pointing out her career is her trying to say she's not looking or expecting someone else to subsidize her family while dating. And I think that's right.
And that's good. Yeah.
That's a character quality that you could say, like, that's good character. I like that. That's something attractive in a person, right?
It's good. Right.
Yeah.
Very good. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just saying
no, but at the end of the day, it's not the
if you're weighing it against 3 kids, you're not like, oh, but she's a nurse, so I guess I'll take on 3 kids. Like, no, like
it doesn't tip the scale. No.
Right. It doesn't tip the scale that much. It just makes,
it's like if you're a single mom, it's like you have to realize you are basing it 90% or 99% on your looks. You have to be damn near flawless. You have to be better looking than the single girls out there with no kids.
That's right.
You know,
that's to get your foot in the door. I say looks aren't everything, but it's how you get your foot in the door.
And
you
that
know, just like
brings up a question that Radoku asked. He goes, but Paul, as a man with contempt for other people's children, why would I select her over a childless woman? Now, I want to.
Why would you? Then don't do it. He just said contempt for other people's children, though. That's a mental framework he has.
Exactly.
So that's
where I would say
you definitely would.
Beneficial. This is where I would say beneficial, because there's a level of maturity, right? That moms have, single moms have, because they have to be responsible for the whole family, right?
You hope.
You hope exactly. It's not
a given.
It's more there with single girls, that have no responsibilities. Because girls with no responsibilities are only thinking of themselves. Will only think about them and how their worldview and what they want. A single mom is more likely going to think about other people, because she tends to think about her kids first before her, in many regards. So you're going to get somebody that might be a little bit more not as selfish when it comes to, choices in life or making, decisions and stuff. They might be a little bit more easier to work with. Just saying that may be something you might be considering, but
maybe. It's well, and it all depends. Like, that's the thing. Like, what are we talking about? Did you meet a girl that's hot and you guys have some, hot and heavy sex on an evening, and then she's like, yeah, but I do have a couple kids, and you're like, damn, I don't really like kids, but we can still hang out. And then she's a casual sex partner that you hang out with, but she knows you're not interested in her kids and you're not interested in that, and it maybe lasts a few months and it's rewarding for both parties. It ends. Who cares? All right. Who cares? It's just like, if you're not a person who likes animals and a girl is like, I have a puppy and 2 cats. Okay, you might bang her, but you're not gonna necessarily, if she's all about pets and you hate animals, that's a major, you're either gonna have to start to like animals, or you better not get in the LTR with the chick, right? Like, that's how it is.
Yeah, don't get with the girl that's in PETA.
Yeah. Like, I'm not telling you guys to go hook up with single moms here, dude. Like, that's not the moral of what I'm saying. We're just having an objective conversation about it. And certainly if you guys don't want that, which most of you don't, then don't. But what happens is, I know how it is for real, because everyone says the thing and then a girl is hot enough and touches their pee-pee, and so then they do something different. So all these guys will be like, well, I don't see why I would get into a single mom. And then next thing they know, they're into it with a single mom because they started dating a girl that was hot and they liked her and she threw sex at them, and next, it's been 2 or 3 months and now she wants the LTR and he doesn't want to lose her. And I've met the kid and he seems cool. That's what ends up happening in all practicality, away from the internet where shit real doesn't happen. But when you're out there, what ends up happening is you guys end up with these girls. So I'm giving you guys a framework. I'm certainly not saying to go make it a goal, but sometimes shit happens and you end up with a great partner who happens to have a kid. It just goes that way. It's like mental disorders, I'm not saying go hook up with someone with a mental disorder, but sometimes shit happens. Now you find yourself with a really good girlfriend who's OCD. And you're like, okay, I got to bring her anxiety down every now and then, but she really, organizes my shoe rack.
And the bathroom's really clean.
The bathroom's clean. Yeah, right. Exactly. Like,
There's some, you gotta look at the pros and cons with it.
yeah, I wasn't looking for an OCD diagnosed person, but hey, I got clean bathrooms, right? And so that's all it is. You know what I mean? It's all it is. Just maintain your standards. You know.
And unplugged dad, we're not saying that single moms are automatically nurturing our nurturing characteristic. We're saying that, you know, anybody that like has to be responsible for another life or other people tend
Which
to
can put them in it grows them up. It grows them up
it
a little
grows them up
faster.
a little faster, and it makes them to think about other people more than themselves half the time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, as a dad, I know that I have put myself on the back burner many times for my kids, you know.
Yeah.
It's just for their better for their life.
Right.
Best for their life, not necessarily best for my life or what I wanted to do at the time. But in doing so, I did that because I'm a parent, and we kind of do that, you know. People who are not responsible of other people or don't have other people depending upon them don't have that issue. They just kind of do what they want by themselves. That's all we're trying to say there.
Yeah, because what we're definitely not doing is if you do a internet search, for example, because I was doing things before, you know, for the show, it's so funny how these articles just cap, you know, like, so like here's an article I just did a search just for funds, just to, because I know I'll get it. I don't even need a prep for it, right? And the title of the article: 7 damn good reasons to date a single mom. You know, number 1, she can roll with the punches. You know, like she's well-rounded. Like these are just bullshit like things.
Yeah,
just pick a girl who can roll with the punches. If you does it, whether she has a kid or no kid, like just because she has a kid, that doesn't mean she can roll with the punches. I mean, literally one of the numbers is single moms are sexy. Like sexy women are sexy, right? Like, so they just put, all they do is they impose good female characteristics, and they say, because she has a kid and is a single mom, she must have these characteristics. It's absolutely ridiculous, right?
Yeah, Sub-Zero calls it 7 copes. You said 7 reasons to date a single mom. He said 7 copes.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not what, like, I mean, I'm not sitting here giving you a dumb list of, you know, she can love like no other because she has a kid and she learned how to love a kid, so she can love like, you know, no. Either she's, you know, a functional person who can bond well, or she can't. That's not, having a kid or not having a kid is not going to make that any different, right? So like that's not what we're doing. That's hilarious though. When you go to the internet, this is what I mean. Like this discussion is so dumb other places, which is why I want to have it here.
Well, it's
you know
like
what I mean?
People are going to get so like autistic with it, you know,
and triggered, you know. That's the other thing. Like one way or the other. It's just silly, right?
Well, it's funny because, like, you know, if you think about it, right, the way that the hookup culture is now, and the way that women are just banging everybody out there, right,
right,
and the fact that most guys are not having sex, right, the odds are, about 10-15 years down the road, most of you guys are going to be dating single moms anyway.
Yeah, you're all going to do it. Like, so let's just talk about it. You know, like
most of these girls are going to be single moms in the future as it is. So it's like eventually everybody's going to be dating a single mom to some degree.
Right. Or you're going to be making a single mom.
You're either making a single mom or you're dating one, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But okay, let me get back to the questions here. Couple so question is about Rollo, actually. Here we go. Let me go find it. They asked you about Rollo. Is Rollo okay? Rollo's not gonna like this, Paul. Is Rollo okay? He seems getting whopped up on the gossip in the swamp. No, okay, it's just
I don't care.
Paul doesn't care. It's not even his thing. If Rollo doesn't even agree with what Paul thinks, guess what? That's what's great about this space. We don't have to agree, you know. We could share our opinions and our views, and that's it. We're not.
I'm not so sure. Yeah, and I'm not so sure what I said in this stream that Rollo would disagree with, to be honest. But
neither do I.
You know, it's again, it goes back to what I said before. A lot of what is said in the red pill space is to keep guys out of trouble. And so generally speaking, going for a single mom is going to get you in trouble, but that doesn't mean that there aren't exceptions or reasons for it. And that's where it maybe works out. Right. And so like, we're just covering the nuances of it because, just calling you a cuck or saying it's, a bad idea immediately, that's a starting point, but that's not where guys usually want to end up. As you get more aware of sexual dynamics and your game improves, you're going to come into these scenarios. You know what I mean? And I just find again that the general internet, warning label of don't touch the hot stove tends to not work. As soon as a guy gets his dick involved, he's touching that hot stove.
It's like touch the hot stove with oven mitts, guys. Touch the hot stove with oven mitts.
Yeah, just be cautious of the hot stove, right? Like, yeah, and so yeah. So I mean, it's just your standards keep you out of trouble. That's what it all boils down to. And it's not so much the arbitrary standard of kid or no kid. It's the standards of, how they show up and how you expect to be treated and the values and principles that they have and that they show up with. Are they feminine? Are they a compliment to you? Are they not a detriment or an energy suck for you? And are they good, sexual partners? Do you like hanging out with them and enjoy your time with them? These are the things you're looking at. And if those things are present, you're good. If she's not, able to give you those things or brings you a bunch of toxic things into your life because of her single momminess, then don't. That's really what it is. That keeps you out of trouble. Is just have your standards. That's it.
Yep. And then we got a question. Are we going to defend Troy Francis on the jockstrap incident? I've never heard of a jockstrap incident, so I don't know. I'll pass that to you.
That's one of my autistic listeners.
Okay.
I've heard that one before. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
It's an irrelevant question. All right, cool. Moving on.
Not a real question.
Just so you guys know, this is if you guys want the crazy nonsense hour, that's my channel. Well, when it ever comes back up. But over here, we're doing serious questions.
We can do humor, but you gotta actually be hungry. Like hungry. You gotta actually be funny though.
Yeah,
like I've heard the jockstrap incident. It was kind of funny the first time I said, but now it's like I want to say it's about the sixth time from the same guy. I've heard the same thing on my streams. So you need to take some improv. You need to take some improv.
Shows you how much like I'm into it. Like I know things because I don't know anything about it. But,
yeah, right.
Here's the question for you, and this is just coming from me. Then we'll wrap it up because there's no more questions.
Yeah.
Do you find that guys tend to take things so literally and without any nuance in this space? It's like you can't take any single moms.
Yes,
single moms are bad for you. Oh, you're a cuck. When it's like, maybe it's not that bad of a deal for you, but in general, you want to at least. The way I look at it is like you want to proceed with caution if you're going to go into this scenario. Don't go into this scenario, running in there without having any, safeguards in place, right?
Yep. Your standards, your conditions, your standards, and your boundaries keep you safe and take your time because a person can fake the funk for a few months, but it's a lot harder to fake the funk for 6 months, a year, and so on. So when she's a single mom, you are going to make her wait before you're combining anything like resources or living together, any of that stuff. You're waiting at least a year or so. And if she is around and wanting to be with you, and it's despite you not combining resources, right? It's not because of it. Then now you're in a good place. She meets the standards. She meets meets your boundaries, and you realize it's truly who she is because you've taken your time. That's how you know. And you keep it, if you're doing it right, you're dating, you're keeping it casual. So you're not closing your option off, you know what I mean, to one person like that immediately. She has to earn that, you know what I mean? You're dating, and that's going to disqualify a lot of single moms. You don't have to worry about the single mom thing as being the disqualifier. She'll disqualify herself, you know, through those other things. But yeah, no, to answer your question though, Glenn, yeah, man, people are way too binary thinking, extreme in their thinking. It's internet stuff. Internet has made people lose their critical thinking skills and really kind of go more into their that the just this just stupid just stupid ways of thinking that doesn't apply like to real life. And we get a small subset of stupid people who are very loud on places like Twitter about shit, or you know, in comments. And there's a ton of people like I might get out of the stupid. First of all, I actually get really good comments. So I do encourage your comments because my comments are really good compared to all my friends in the space. I look at some of these other guys, I'm like, holy shit, those are some pretty, you know, lame comments. I get really good ones. We have good, actually good exchanges in the comment sections of my videos. So I'm happy about that. But that's because I don't attract idiots, because we do talk and have nuanced conversations. Most of the idiots are gonna lose their, you know, their attention span and go somewhere else. They don't have an attention span to sit for more than, you know, 30 seconds unless they're being entertained with some sort of camera shift or sound effect or whatever. I mean, so most people are a little, they can't sit through a lecture. They're too dumb. And so those people are going to put a really dumb comment if they say anything, and then they move on. And we hear a lot of that. Because if you go on a like Fresh and Fit example, is a more entertaining show than mine in terms of just entertainment. Okay, not in terms of knowledge and value, but you know, but
It's a
entertainment.
novelty.
It's an entertaining show, right? So that you're going to get more people watching that, and then they're dumber, and so they're going to put dumb comments. That's just the way it is. And I'm here to facilitate those of you who are smarter, a little smarter than the stupid person. Like we're not even saying average. Like you can be a little below average, and you'd be just fine here, right? I'm somebody who wants to really gain some knowledge and skills and better your life, and actually go out there and have good relationships and have good mental models for yourself, and you know, good mental health. Like that's what I'm here for. You know what I mean? We can entertain a little bit while we do it, but
Well, I think
that's
like
what it
your
is.
show is like for people that are willing to acknowledge that uh they have mistakes that they have made,
Yeah.
and like they're one, they own their mistakes and they want to work on improving those flaws, you know. And everybody else that are not into that, they're kind of like still blaming her. It's all her fault.
Yeah.
She's the reason why the relationship ended, not because I lost frame. No, it's all her fault. Like
Right.
you got people in your chat that want to improve because they realize, oh, I dropped the ball here, I want to get better, you know.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah,
So
exactly. You know, and I'm very happy with my, you know, dedicated listeners, and I just hope to get more, you know, more people, because there's a plenty for every dumb comment on the internet of someone who has this binary thinking. There's actually quite a few other people who are smarter than that, who would do really well with this advice. They just might, some of them don't have the pain enough to show up to get it,
mhm.
you know. But I'm surprised every week by a person here or there who's a normal good person. Sometimes people I've known, because just the other week, you know, someone I've known for a while was like, bro, like I've never listened to your stuff. I always thought it was just like, they thought it was just all stupid, like, you know, internet stuff. And then they get into one of my shows and they're like, holy shit. You know, I get that a lot. Like people like, and usually what happens is what got them to actually check it out is some sort of pain point, you know, like some shit didn't work out well for them. And they're like, all right, Paul's an idiot, but we'll go listen to him for a second. And then they're like, holy shit, I guess he's not an idiot. Like, you know, he's because he jokes around and, you know, and lifts weights. And I think he's an idiot, you know, because he doesn't try to act like a smart guy, but whoa, wow, dude, this is actually really good. And I'll get that compliment. So, I mean, we're changing lives, you know, and hopefully, like I said, with everyone's support, throw that like down, you know, make sure you're subscribed. If you guys aren't subscribed to both my channels, make sure you do that, you know, when we're done. And that helps it out, because for every idiot, there's a handful of people who are not idiots who really could use the information, you know, and it'll save their lives, man. It really will.
No, I definitely encourage everybody to share Paul's channel, Paul's clips, you know, even the little promo videos that we're going to be making.
Share the promos.
You know?
That's where the comedy is.
That's where you're going to get the comedy for sure.
Yeah.
So real quick, we're going to wrap it up here. But Brother Blood asked a question, and then I had him explain his question. He goes, Pearly stole Rollo's talking points, and now she's using them to run some sort of MGTOW protection racket. Paul could be next if he's not careful. And I go,
next
care
for
to
what?
explain? And then
Someone's
he
gonna steal my
responds
talking
with,
points. I don't care.
Yeah, he responds with, Rollo rants every week about how Pearl stole his work and is using it incorrectly. Last week, she brought a Nazi on her show. She's giving the red pill a bad name. And then he comes.
The red pill already has a bad name, so
if it goes in that direction, does Paul have a backup plan? Well, if you guys know, Paul never says that he's red pill. He never, you know, markets himself as red pill.
Yeah, have you noticed that? Yeah. It's not that I'm not. It's just that I am my own person with my own brand. And so I look at Red Pill as a branding in a club, and like all these, because you know, it helps because people want to think they're a part of something special. And so I'm in the Manosphere. You know, Manosphere is not real. It's not a real thing, but there's no application to get into the Manosphere. There's no, you know what I mean? It's just, it's not a real thing. It's just people on the internet. You know why
it's a thing? It's a thing because women made it a thing. Women called it the Manosphere. And then guys are like, okay, we're going to be called the Manosphere.
Like, right. And then some people, you know, kind of gave the Manosphere a bad name. So then, like, well, Red Pill was a thing. Like, it was an identify, you know, well, we're identifying our group and our ideas with this. And it started off with Rollo, Royce, and Roosh. Was again given the credit for that, and
Ryan too, right? Rollo, Ryan, Royce, Roosh.
Well, so it was really Rollo, Royce, and Roosh. Ryan was foundationally in the married Red Pill, but he wasn't a foundational, like, founded the Red Pill or anything. Gotcha. He came into it after it was a thing, but he was definitely a pioneer on the married side of it. And at any rate, you know, it got this group identity, but now it's all over the place because you got one guy saying that they're Red Pill, but it's a total contradictory, weird shit than something that maybe Rollo might say or Royce might say, right? Like, so it's now everybody's has their own brand and they use Red Pill as a way of marketing it. I just, you know, I have a lot of ideas that fit really well. I have some ideas that don't fit though. You know, I'm my own person, my own brand. And so I don't care what happens. I care about individuals. Like, I care about Rollo as a person because I like him as a person. I think he has great work, you know, but I don't care about, like, what the internet space does, you know, like, oh, the Manosphere, this has a bad name. I don't give a shit. Like, what I care about is the individuals that are involved in their own branding, and I want people who have good advice and help people to be successful. And that's all it is. Like, me on Rule Zero is me having great conversations with guys who I think are good dudes who want to be successful, you know, and there's not a single person on that panel that I don't like or that I don't wish success. You know, there are some people out there that I avoid like the plague because I don't think they're good people and I don't think they dispense good information or products that help people. So I stay away from those people. I don't care what they brand themselves at. You know what I mean? And so do I have a backup plan? I am my own plan always. I am literally on my mental point of origin when it comes to my brand. I'm the definition of that. And so I am always going to do my own thing. And because I have authenticity with what I do and guys get results with that, I ain't going anywhere. I'm gonna be around for a while. I may not be the largest, you know, most attention getting person out there, but I will always be there foundationally and will continue to grow, because as long as guys are getting the results, they're going to keep coming back and referring to their friends. That's all it is. When you guys listen to my stream and you have different insights, it's like, shit. Yeah, like fuck, I'll watch again and I'll tell somebody else to watch. It may take me longer to get to 100,000 subs, due mostly to censorship, but a lot of it due to internet marketing and what people gravitate towards. But that's okay by me. It's fine. You know what I mean? Because a lot of these guys will fizzle out too when the red pill or something else does get branded as a hate group or some shit happens.
Yeah.
They're gonna, like, some of the people who grew really big because they need to maintain that large audience and infrastructure will shift to the next popular thing.
They'll
And
pivot.
they will pivot.
Mm-hmm.
My business is, in helping guys with their relationships and helping guys with their mental fitness and resiliency and their mindset and their, and their inner game. Those two things, I'm here to help. I'm here to sharpen your mind and better your relationships, whether those are casual dating and getting the girls or whether that's, long-term stuff. That's what I'm here for. And that's not going to change, because that'll always be a need. And when the weird internet shifts gears and it's no longer popular to talk about this stuff, I will still be helping people with those issues. So
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Zachary Moore makes a good comment. He goes, Paul and Ryan bring a unique take on this material that I haven't really seen elsewhere. And he asked the question, which actually kind of makes me think about it. He goes, is it partially because of the military background? And I want to say yes, because
maybe,
I mean, me being prior service, I kind of understand what he's getting at, and see, because the way that you guys process things and view things, it's like, okay, look, there's the problem. We're going to fix the solution.
Yeah.
Forget what you're dealing with. Here's how you make it work. This is how we could unfuck the problem. Like, it's going to suck, but guess what? This is how you fuck it. It's not about how bad it hurts or how much it sucks. It's just like, this is how we get through it. That stuff doesn't matter. Everything else doesn't matter. This is how you unfuck the problem.
Right.
And I think that's a good way to focus on it, rather than the emotional aspect of like, oh, I know you're zeroed out and you're going through it all, and that if the woman wasn't this and that, you'd be better off. Like, no, you're like, okay, look, you found yourself in the situation, it's time to unfuck it. This is how you unfuck it and move the fuck on.
Yeah.
And that's your approach. Like, you just want guys to get away from the pain, but just get better without thinking about the bullshit.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think the pragmatic aspect of military has helped us, both myself and Ryan. I think that I would say our integrity too, even though that's not always something you'll run into with government workers or military people. But I think just him and I as individuals just have integrity. He and I want to be able to look at ourselves, in the mirror, the next day, whatever you want to call it. We want to be able to look at ourselves and know we're doing the right thing. That's what it boils down to. Like, I'm not going to compromise my message to make someone else feel better or because something's popular. I'm not going to sit here and do the single mom episode where I do a 10-minute video with a lot of flash talking about how single moms are shit. And all these guys go, yeah. Like, all these guys who have been divorced or who don't get laid, which is the majority of people, get on and jerk off, verbally jerk me off. And then, it gets me a bunch of likes, and then we don't actually accomplish anything, knowing that all of those dudes are going to turn around and try to hit the dating marketplace and either A, be completely unsuccessful, which is going to be most of them, or B, the ones that are going to end up seeing a single mom and then going, and then handling it poorly, whether it's being a dick and discounting that girl for no reason and just being a bad human to another human, right? Which is going to all around not benefit you or anybody else. Or they get themselves roped into it because they make exceptions to their standards and all this stuff. And who are we helping with a 10-minute shit on single mom video? I'm not helping anybody other than my algorithm. So Ryan's the same way though. Like he's not just he'll joke around and do his chick docs and like, you know, do some comedy, which I'm good with comedy too, but it's not, it's difference between I'm more comedic on my Twitter. If you want to be
I was
watch
gonna
me
say
be an
your
asshole.
Twitter is your comedy.
Dude, it is though. My Twitter is really
Don't
funny.
do any stand up. Let's not do stand up yet.
Yeah, my Twitter is hilarious, but I think I have fun with it. But yeah, I'm total, you know, I'm joking around, and I do say things that I'm joking around here. You know the difference,
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, like when it comes down to the real message, I'm not compromising it for what's popular algorithms. Ryan's not going to do that shit either, and because of that, you just won't always be trending. You know what I mean? So it's a challenge to, you know, and I'm not a great marketer either. That's the other part of it. Like, so it's not just that. Like I'm flawed as a person too, and I'm not this digital marketing expert. I'm learning now though. I got some people I'll be working with next couple months, and hopefully get more of a good presence this year is the goal, to get my internet presence up with better digital marketing. You know, that's a goal I have with people who know more than me on that. And so but it's a challenge to take my message and what I'm doing and make it, you know, marketable without sacrificing my integrity is a challenge. And I find myself having to tell the copywriters and, you know, people who, you know, when I'm going to go do some filming for some new videos, different things, I find myself having to tell people like, yep, I won't say that like this. Like when I was doing my sales copy for my group, I'm not going to say that, or I'm not going to do that like that, because I'm not going to just stimulate anxiety and be a fucking crazy man. Like, no, like
You're not just gonna go for trigger words and just to get emotional spikes.
Right. You know,
Yeah.
there's you in marketing, you do want to stimulate emotion and some of those negative emotions that are part of it, but I'm not going to do it in such a way where, you know, I'm way out of bounds from reality and I'm just, you know, pushing people's buttons and shit, you know, just to get them to sign up for my stuff. Like I'm just not going to do that, you know, and that makes me, I think I will see, but I think that doing that for the long haul is what will make me a higher value coach, or whatever you want to call me, right? A higher value professional over time versus, you know, hey, red pill's trending. I branded a bunch of stuff, did some 5-minute shitty videos, got some money, and now nobody wants to look at me in 5 years, you know, because in a few years from now, dude, nobody's going to care about this shit. I don't say nobody.
I mean, because
like
I think people need to realize like there's two different groups in this space, right? There is educators like yourself and Rollo and Ryan, and then there's entertainers. There's guys that take the things that you guys say, either say them comedically or funny to kind of get the point across differently. Because let me tell you something, there's the things that Rollo says sometimes could go over people's head.
But, a lot of things he says does go over.
But you could say the same thing and say in a joking manner, and people would be like, "Oh, I get it." You know, it's just like
and I would say those two are valuable things. Those are valuable deliveries. Now, the third one I would say is not valuable, though. I would add a third, which is the grifters.
Oh, yeah, the grifters. Yeah,
the grifters are the people that just steal the material and they really just in a way that's designed to make you uncomfortable and watch them more. That's all it is. And it doesn't actually help you. It just makes you, it fucks you up more, you know? And I have that guys get into my group and they're like, I'm having to unplug from the red pill space because they're so crazy. I'm like, yeah, you know, sorry about that. You know, like, I know it sucks, man. I do my best not to partake in the crazy, and that's not necessarily like the guys I work with on Rule Zero. That's other channels, other places that just go way down the rabbit hole into like the black pill territory and stuff. And it just gets crazy, you know?
Yeah. And I'll close with this, or, you know, and we'll close up this, but I think, and you tell me if you think you agree. One way to point out a grifter is that they always sell fear. You need to sign up for their limited, you know, course now. the price is going to increase significantly next week. It's like they always sell fear. There's always this fear driven.
That's a good sign that they're a grifter. Well, that's a good sign that the real that plus afterwards. What happens is you got to look. I look at the results too. Like, are guys getting results, or are they just justifying their purchase?
Yeah,
that's it. You can tell a difference in the testimonial, like whether a guy's like, yeah, Paul's a real, alpha male, and I took his course, and and now I'm never gonna put up with shit from women again or something. That's a guy who's just like, if that was his review, that's a guy who probably didn't benefit from my material very much. He's just, he just feels better because he bought the material. Now you have people who are like, I've like my testimonials and even things in comments like, dude, like I was really, screwed up and this happened. And oh, wow. And I saw, this is a totally different way of doing things. And this communication model or this mental framework. And I did EMDR and I did meditation and my life changed in 2 months. Like that's a person who got results from it. So even if there was some fear that got him there into the door, like their results are, you can tell it's not about Paul being a real G or a badass or something. And I didn't
telling the fear. The fear is them thinking, oh, I need to act on this or I'm gonna miss the opportunity. And it's not you saying, hey, you better act on this or you're gonna miss the opportunity.
Right.
There's a difference.
Yeah. Well, it's not your life's over if you don't do this, but they do feel like a lot of times it is fear just in their own internal, like, because they're like, if I keep going like this, I'm not gonna ever have whatever I want, or this is too painful and I need to do something, and this seems like the answer. So pain is definitely the motivator. Pain is the main reason people do things, but that's internal. I don't need to make more pain for people. I just need to show them a mirror. Like this guy, I feel for this guy. I know it sounds like I was kind of shitting on him, but in my comment section, but I feel for this guy who's 27 years old and living out of a camper with this single mom who's prostituting, and he has this massive attachment problem. I feel for that dude, man. I am like, your life sucks right now and I can feel your pain. And I don't need to create more pain for that guy. I just need to show him the mirror. I just need to hold the mirror up and say, look at your life right now, bro, and how fucked you are. And you need to do something drastically different. That's way different than creating and fear mongering. This dude's life sucks. He doesn't need more fear. He needs some hope. He needs the mirror.
That's the thing, dude. You hit the nail on the head because you get a lot of content creators in here that will just shit on people when they write their stories. And it's like, dude, they already know they fucking are in it. Like, you don't need to let them know that how stupid they are. They already know they made a stupid mistake. They're seeking how to better themselves here now. Like them giving you the backstory is embarrassing enough. They already know how embarrassing it's going to come across. Right. They don't need you to shame them any more than they already feel the shame. They just need a direction, like, hey, this is how you could get out of this, and like point out to this is why you ended up in this mistake. But no, and just so you guys know that are putting out there that MLD sells fear. We're not saying MLD is a grifter, okay? We're just saying people that tend to sell fear, tend to push fear when they're trying to get you in their program or something. They're doing that to stimulate you emotionally, to make you feel like you have to sign up now or you're going to miss out or you're going to lose. And that is manipulation. And that's just to get you guys, hooked on something, and that's a grift.
It's that without value. It's that without value, that without truth. Like, and if guys want to, I know there's a lot of guys who don't like MLD, but you guys got to understand, like, you haven't looked at his shit in a while, probably. Go watch I did a stream with him last night. Go on the channel, go watch the stream we did. That is not, that is a person who is very transparent about his struggles and who genuinely wants to help people. And I will back him every time, because I know I've spent time with him on away from the cameras and away from the channels. And I know that that's the reality, is that he genuinely gives a shit about what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he has come very far in his own life since I've known him over the past few years. So what someone does to market and even sense of humor, what we do on the internet, you know, or what someone did maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, you got to look at how they're doing things now and all that. Just FYI, people do improve, do make changes. And so I'm not saying he was bad before or anything, but I'm just saying that he's been getting better every single year. And he is one of the people in the space that genuinely gives a shit. So when he says something like, you guys suck and you guys need to make some more money and, stop being broke asses or something, like some of that's tongue in cheek and funny, but same with drill sergeants. When I've had the funniest people on earth, dude, that I knew from the military were drill sergeants. The shit they would say, it was so hard not to laugh when they were yelling at you. Holy crap, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, these drills,
I
dude,
got woken up at
funny,
like 2 a.m. asking why there was a piece of lint and 2 laundry tags from on the ground, and he asked me if the 2 laundry tags were making babies on the lint. Like,
dude, I got so many funny, even though I have so many funny things that just drill sergeants, man, like freaking like some of these guys in our barracks where they were putting up their ponchos in the barracks, like they had this idea. And so next thing you know, these ponchos start happening. Like it was in some downtime. And the drill sergeant comes in and he starts yelling, he's like, get all that fucking shit down here. I go, what? He goes, I didn't expect to come in here and then see the caravan up and the circus is in town just so you guys can jerk off on each other without, it was just, but the way I'm not doing it right. The way he said it was so fucking funny, dude. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it. So I'm going to laugh.
I got busted for whistling, right?
Yeah.
As I was cleaning, and the drill sergeant put me in my locker and put coins in there and told me to sing since I want to be a jukebox.
Where they taking bullying to a surgical level, a talent, dude. It's the type of bullying everyone needs once in their life, I swear. And it's so hilarious. But my point is that stuff came out of love, dude. Like those guys, when I talked to him after Cycle and some of those guys I ran into after, like well after into my career, man, they were just like, hey, like, how's it going? Like they were genuinely interested in my success. They genuinely give a shit, dude, especially if you're a good dude, not a dirtbag. They're playing a role.
One of mine.
Yeah, they're playing a role as a trainer,
Yeah,
right.
Sergeant Ramirez is still dope. And here's one question or one thought, and we got to wrap because it's already 3.5 hours. But if you have an issue with something that MLD says, if he calls you out or if he says you're, you suck or you're lame or you're a slob, whatever, ask yourself this question: is he telling the truth? And if he is, are you mad that it's true? If that's the case, then guess what? You could fix it.
Yeah.
Right.
Not only that is, let's say he's wrong about something. Cool.
But if he's wrong, then he's
a human being, dude. It doesn't matter. The point is that he actually gives a shit, though, and he's not doing it.
Like one of them's emotional. One's an emotional, issue, and one is the fact that you're like, shit, I'm not meeting the bar, right?
Yeah.
So since I'm not meeting the bar, he's calling me out, and I'm mad. Am I mad that I'm not meeting the bar, or am I mad that he's calling me out? Right?
Yeah.
You have to figure out what it is, because both of those are fixable, right? If you're not meeting the bar, you could level up to meet the bar, and then guess what? He won't be calling you out anymore. So it's just like there's you have to look at it from, is it true? If it's true, then cool, fix it. If it's not true, then you could correct the narrative. That's
exactly.
But it's not that the dude has a beef with you.
No, and you got to know where it's coming from.
Because remember when I first met MLD? I met MLD with you.
Yeah, that's right.
Remember he didn't want me to go with him to dinner?
Yeah.
I was just with MLD in Vegas, and he had me at his place. And we're just chilling and hanging out, getting along. Like dude is a good person, Good guy.
No, yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. And
But
so,
with
yeah.
that being said, guys, you know,
But anyway,
yeah.
So we'll get towards we'll get the end here. But hopefully you guys liked, just to make some quick closing comment. I mean, it's just, if you guys liked, the stream, keep showing up. It's noon on Tuesdays for a while. We got great topics coming up. Share it, like it. Get on my free email list and cheat proof and boundary setting guide. Okay, that's just, it's a click, and there's no spam, and go get on that. And if you need to get your shit together, start with the Alpha Mindset course. That's low cost barrier to entry. It's sitting there in the link below, okay, in the description. And if you want to work with me for a year, hit that button and schedule an appointment to interview for a mastermind group. And I got more things that'll be coming this year. And so that's what's going on. And thank you, Glenn, for your producing expertise.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And
All
I'll
right,
wrap
everybody.
with this. Eric, agree with Paul, girth over length all day long. And I mean, it's undeniable. I mean, come on now. And just in ultra, just because you have one friend not liking another friend doesn't mean you can't be friends with both of them. Just leave it at that. But other than that, guys, we are out of here. Thank you for your time. Until next Tuesday.